and started administering EPR and chest compressions to somebody who was injured. That was her, and she's from Kansas City. She now lives in Louisville, and so she drove all the way here just for the parade. And with there being only one fatality so far, let's hope that that's all there is.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit about Lisa Lopez Galvin and what's going on with the GoFundMe. She may have saved somebody's life by springing into action as quickly as she did.
That was awesome to see. You know, with a crowd like that, there's so many people who are trained to do these things, and it's great to know it doesn't matter if they're on the clock or not.
Yeah.
That's ingrained in them.
Somebody to run, the commotion's going on, and they see that, and they run towards
and
it.
They go get after it.
It's a different thing.
Really
it's a different
stuff.
feeling.
We still don't have any charges on these juveniles. And as we kind of talked about yesterday, this is a process.
Yeah.
It has to go through family court. They have to get recertified as adults. That is definitely what Jackson County wants to do, but it's not a snap of the fingers.
Yeah.
So you just got to hold tight on this.
Yep. I believe they'll probably be tried as adults, but we'll see. There's a lot more information that'll come out as the investigation continues, but that is a good note to know right now, as there will be people that want to have this happen quickly, but the wheels of justice turn very slowly.
And there are reasons for this, too. I mean, there are reasons that you have to go through a process for juveniles to get tried as adults. I mean, so just know that there's a reason these things happen this way. But I understand everyone's frustration because they want right now.
Yeah. It makes sense that you want immediate justice. You want to know exactly what happened, why it happened, and, when there can be closure to that. One of the stories that has come out that is at least, some inspiring news is that with the passing of Lisa Lopez Galvin, the GoFundMe page that was listed was trying to raise $75,000. It is now up to $230,000. And I believe maybe this morning or late last night, Taylor Swift donated $100,000 to Lisa Lopez Galvin and her family, sending or posting the two different $50,000 donations, saying, "Sending my deepest sympathies and condolences in the wake of your devastating loss. With love, Taylor Swift." It's $100,000 that the family now has, based on this sort of relationship that's going on. I've seen Bill's Mafia step in, and there's a bunch of Reddit and social media with Bill's Mafia that they're donating $15 and $17 and different players' numbers, 17 for Josh Allen, 15 for Patrick Mahomes, and just a bunch of people from Bill's Mafia that are posted. I've seen Ravens fans, Ravens Flock. They've got a thing going on of where they're posting and donating, which is awesome because it drowns out the idiots that are out there. It drowns out the people that we should ignore out there that have differing ways of going about life and going about posting on social media and viewing things, that these are the more inspiring ones, that the NFL community can come together, and we don't need to focus on the people who had, Twitter or X delete their tweets because of them being awful people, but the NFL community coming together. Bills Mafia and Chiefs Kingdom don't really get along. The Houday and Chiefs Kingdom don't really get along. Ravens Flock and Chiefs Kingdom didn't get along there, but
any of them together. Just run the strings across.
Yes, exactly, all of them. Nobody really gets along when they're playing each other.
There's a lot of good in the world.
Yeah,
and that's what you like to see.
Absolutely, because Bill's Mafia donating money here. And they're donating in $15 increments, right, for Patrick Mahomes. Or I saw a number of people with $87 increments, with Travis Kelce, which is really cool. So it's a cool story that comes from tragedy that we can see people, coming together and
trying to
finding some common ground,
trying to do some good stuff here.
Yes,
that's nice to see.
Bring a positive out of something, and
I think
we should probably remember that
it'll just grow.
Yeah,
too,
and we should probably remember that when the Chiefs and Bills play, when people get passionate and mad, and we're talking about the sports teams, that we are just as passionate about our team as they are passionate about theirs. And when that passion happens and we view it as civic pride, and it's like, we were talking yesterday about with Mick and I, and we were discussing like, I can say something bad about my team, but you can't say something bad about my team, right? And that's how it is. And so, just to keep those things in mind when the teams play each other and you see some tweets from Bills Mafia that are the same people that are doing this. So football brings
games
out
make
some,
you crazy.
The fan is fanatic, and when everything is calm and people are not adrenaline rushing and immediate quick reactions and probably not thinking things through while they're tweeting or typing.
By the way, it's $235,000.
Is it? So it raised $3,000 since we've been talking, and that's going to continue to go up and go up and go up and everything. And so that's
good news.
Really cool.
And I don't know if there are other GoFundMe's because there are injured people too. There could be some out there. Seek them out too if you want to donate.
Yeah.
Because this was tragic. We have somebody who died, and Lisa's family was affected because multiple people in the family were shot and injured. But there are also others. So if you want to help, man, seek out them too. Hopefully those will get out there through Reddit and all that kind of stuff because they'll need help as well.
Yes, and that is it's a cool story right there. We'll continue to keep track of this as the days go, the weeks and everything in between. We'll do that. We'll still talk some sports today as well. Matt Derrick will be our guest. Matt Tate. Kendall Gammon. We've got our Super Bowl montage we will play, and we have a ton of sound from Mic'd Up that. We played a little bit of the sound from Mic'd Up that came out on Inside the NFL with Ryan Clark and Jay Cutler and that group that were, going through the game, and they would play little clips of Mic'd Up, and that's what we saw. And we played some of that. And then the Turning Point and the full Mic'd Up came out on Wednesday night. And
40 minutes long, 41 minutes long.
And it's on YouTube. You can go and check that out there. It's not behind a paywall. Turning Point, I believe, is on ESPN Plus that you can go and rewatch it if you want to or watch it for the first time. That's up there. But YouTube is posted with the full Mic'd Up, just 40 minutes straight.
Well, when we say full,
stuff.
it's what they release. Because there are several things in there that we are never going to see that exist.
There is nobody has released anything that Travis Kelce said to Andy Reid when he was very passionate after the Pacheco fumble.
Or Patrick Mahomes and Rashee Rice's quick discussion.
That's exactly right. That's a good point. It's a very good point.
That exists somewhere.
Somebody has heard that.
The mic didn't drop then. I would love to.
Somebody's have heard that.
Somebody's. I would love to see those.
There was the lip reading that was out there. It looked like Patrick Mahomes said he rolled the bleeping ball back to me, which he did. Because even on the play-by-play, you can hear Kevin Harlan low snap.
By the way, Kevin Harlan's awesome. Don't
He's
need to
really
tell you
good.
that. He sees everything.
He's pretty good, man.
Yeah. But the Mic'd Up is great.
It's so good. We've got tons of sound. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have 14 different Mic'd Up clips today.
What was your favorite thing you heard on Mic'd Up?
Oh, my goodness. Let me look through the
I'll quickly tell you the favorite thing I heard was when Kyle Juszczyk didn't know the rules and admitted it on the sideline.
Can we do the let's just play that right now. 49ers not knowing the overtime rules. I'm not sure how long this one is, but I put it together with the conversation that took place on the sideline with Fred Warner and Nick Bosa.
Right.
And then Kyle Juszczyk and them talking about the overtime. So the 49ers not knowing overtime rules.
We got an overtime game? Damn.
We want to go down and score first. You score a touchdown, you win.
No, both teams get an opportunity.
Hey, even if we score a touchdown, they still get the ball. I didn't know that.
Nick Bosa was the one that said, we score, we win. And Fred Warner was like, no. Both
Fred
teams
knew that much at least.
Yeah, Fred Warner, let's go score a touchdown. If we score, we win. No, we don't. And then Kyle Juszczyk.
Like, why didn't he?
Did you know that?
Later said he learned that by reading the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Because they put the rules up there. And I don't care. Listen, the analytics that Kyle Shanahan used, whatever. You can say whatever you want about him. There was a really good discussion this morning on the Border Patrol with Stan Weber. They were talking about this, that, whatever. I know this. I knew that he knew the rules of it, but the fact that he had players on his team who didn't know the rules of it, that's embarrassing for them. I'm not embarrassed for Kyle Shanahan that he didn't know that like he chose wrong, Okay, he chose poorly because they lost. That's fine. He had some reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
I didn't like his reasoning.
Some of the analytics have said now it's like 50-50, and we won't really have a lot of information
until they do this more.
How often are we going to see
and
overtime games in the playoffs?
I've been saying this for 6 years. You can take all of your data and you can take a little X factor called Patrick Mahomes in it, and it just changes it. I don't care.
That's absolutely true.
Like, I love the fourth down decision bot, but the fourth down decision bot doesn't know who's playing quarterback. You know what I mean? I mean, it sort of does, I think, but it doesn't really know what's going on. It doesn't know lots of things.
And I've appreciated Soren's point on this when it's like, okay, well, if the coach is like, we've used 5 different plays here, and we don't have a play that I really love, let's kick it, or let's kick the field goal, let's punt it, or whatever. Why did you do that? Well, I mean,
I'm out of plays.
Because you would say, I like the decision to go for it. I hated the play. Yes, so did I.
Yeah,
I hated the play too. Yes.
I didn't want this play.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that they had 2 weeks to get ready and the people didn't know the rules. Unbelievable.
It really is fascinating that the Chiefs are talking about that, and in training camp they went through the rules, and then they had different presentations during the week, and everybody on the sideline knew exactly what they wanted to do, knew what they were going to do, excited about it.
Everything.
I mean, it's
So do the 49ers rush the field if they score on that first drive?
I think some of them might have.
Some of them might have. I think by the time it got down there, word got around.
Yeah.
Hey, man, this ain't nothing yet.
I think some of them actually might have rushed the field thinking they won. Of course, McCole Hardman.
He didn't. He blacked out.
Also didn't really know, like, okay, do they get the ball back now? Like, how many possessions? Is it a full quarter that we're playing?
I remember seeing, you saw McCole Hardman on Jimmy Kimmel, right? And then I remember, Andy Reid explaining the play to Peter King and all that. And I heard Patrick talking about it. I think I've heard 3 different things on who was the first option on the play. Because I think McCole Hardman was like, yeah, I was the first option. And then, like, no. You were like the third option.
It's Tom and Jerry is supposed to be a shovel pass to Jerick McKinnon.
So here's the deal. It doesn't matter. McCole was open. He caught the ball, and they won the game in the end. But that is, we all kind of think everyone knows everything. And McCole Hardman explained that he read the play off to Jimmy Kimmel, and he doesn't know the whole play. He just knows his little 4 words.
Yeah.
Okay?
The shuttle, Tom and Jerry, and then shuttle.
That's what he knows.
Knew the shuttle motion.
So
tiger formation or tiger personnel since he was the tiger.
Yeah, they don't know everything.
Yeah.
And I guess you don't have to have everyone know everything. You got to know your role, but you got to know the rules.
Yes.
The rules are important.
I thought it was really cool, though. I wish Nick Bosa would not have hit Jerick McKinnon like he did, but good on Nick Bosa sort of reading the play and going and hitting Jerick McKinnon.
He's a good player.
Because it was pretty awesome that the Chiefs were trying to get Jerick McKinnon the winning touchdown when he slid at the 1-yard line last year.
And he worked so hard to get back to play in this game.
Would have been an amazing story that from last year sliding at the 1-yard line to then getting the winning, because it was wide open.
I don't know.
If Bosa doesn't hit McKinnon, it's
what story wouldn't have been amazing?
That's a great point.
I mean, McCole Hardman's an amazing story.
Travis Kelce
an amazing story.
I think Rice is a rookie.
He was MVS on the field or no? I can't remember. That would have been amazing.
All 22,
I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, it would all have been amazing.
Right.
Just levels of amazingness would have been good.
Mahomes running it in would have been.
I still don't know
amazing.
this. Do you know who has the ball? He just dropped the ball.
He said he has the ball.
He got the ball.
He
back.
tweeted it. I believe he tweeted it and said,
Okay.
"I have the game-winning ball,"
All right.
or "I have the game ball." That's what he said. I have the game ball. So yeah,
someone
he dropped
said they
it,
thought James Winchester went over there and got it somehow.
which
That's a very James Winchester move.
if
because he didn't spike it, he just kind of dropped
tossed it behind him.
Just it just dropped out of his hand.
Yeah, dropped out of his hand, and they're all celebrating and so many of those media members just ran right past the ball. That just sounds dumb to me. Just pick that thing up, put it underneath your shirt.
If you black out, then I guess
that's right.
Another evidence that he did not know what was going on.
Does he get to keep the game ball or Mahomes? Apparently he's got the game ball.
If he's got it, I think Mahomes is letting
Mahomes has a big chrome game ball.
Yeah.
That's
they
Super Bowl
that
MVP.
Yeah, they got that. And then they can all get their own trophies now. Used to not be able to do that. They get their own trophies.
Yeah, and they get a ring that looks like a trophy. A ring that is the size of a trophy.
Yeah. McCole's done well in the ring department.
He's been fine. He's got 3 of them, right?
Who doesn't have a ring on that team? Well, the guys who don't have them yet, they'll get them in June or something.
Well, that was amazing about this one is that you've got a group of guys that this is their third, a group of guys that this is their second, and a group of guys that this is their first.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think, I'm like, who all, like, this is their first? Because even the new guys to the team, like Donovan Smith and Mike Edwards, have one with the Bucks.
Right.
And so Drew Tranquill doesn't have one.
Juwan Taylor, for sure.
Juwan Taylor, Aminahu, like guys who are main players that did not have one.
For sure.
Yeah, the rookies for sure, but guys that are like the main players. And it's like, okay, Aminahu, Drew Tranquill, Juwan Taylor. And, outside of the rookies, like, that's kind of it.
That's
they had so much Super Bowl experience going into this game.
There's a small group with 3. a big fat group with two, and then there's a smaller group
with one.
With one, and then there's some coaches with even more. I mean, like Spags had one of other
Spags
places,
has
and,
4 slash.
And Andy,
he's got 4.
won, with the Packers as an assistant. There's some guys going around.
And Nagy now has 2.
Yeah.
Since he's made his way back. EB has 2 as well. Although, if EB gives the speech on the Saturday night before the Ravens, does he get a ring?
I don't know.
Does he get a ring?
The practice squad guys, like Chris Oladokin,
maybe
got
he should.
2 rings.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great.
It's great, And they signed him to a reserve futures, so, they still like Oladokin and what he brings to the table. As
People hate when I ask these kind of questions, and I'm going to ask. I wanted to ask this somewhere down there because I remember talking to Oladokin. He got to be active for the Chargers game.
Yeah.
It was a real check, not practice squad
absolutely.
check. It was a big fat check, biggest check of his life, right?
Nice check.
I don't know if the practice squad guys get full shares. I don't know if you have to be on the 53 of the Super Bowl or whatever.
Question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You probably get something. These are the things I care about because those are the guys who don't have millions of dollars, and that's where $180,000 or whatever the number is going to be this year.
Life-changing.
Is really good stuff.
Yeah.
Your Terrence Gores of the world, who made more money in postseason checks as he made in regular money.
That's a great point.
Because honestly, like Patrick Mahomes lost money salary-wise in the postseason.
Yeah.
He probably made money.
Even though he got like
$1.25
million, but
he got a benefit
with a bonus, but like playing 4 games as opposed to what his game check typically looks like. It's a
lot of those guys were like that. So, it's just interesting to see. Yeah. I don't know if people care about that. I'm interested in those things.
I think people care about a lot of things when it comes to the Chiefs.
Every dollar counts.
Yes.
For those guys who aren't going to have 10-year careers, too. I mean, it really can be something.
Yeah.
And I remember
Deion Bush was a practice squad guy throughout most of the year and then intercepted Lamar Jackson in a huge play. Like, they make impacts. They make differences.
Yeah, because he was on the 53 during the postseason. But some guy like, Oladokin was not on the 53 for any of the postseason games.
No, he was not.
Will he get a share? I don't know how they work it.
He should. If
you're voting, you take a share.
Absolutely. It's not my money. I think they should give him a full share.
Everybody gets a share. Everybody gets a ring.
He played Lamar Jackson in the scout team the week of, okay? And they did a pretty good job against Lamar Jackson. I think he deserves a full share.
Share him up.
At least from that week.
Yeah.
Get a full game check for that.
Because it all kind of counts up, as you go through. And then it's much better to win the game than lose the game. Not necessarily in the Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes world of that. Although Chris Jones, he didn't get his first team All-Pro.
He didn't
or
get
Defensive Player of the Year. That would have been a big deal. For him.
So he got $1 million just by making the Super. He didn't get another bonus by winning it.
It would have been $2 million more, but he wasn't Defensive Player.
He had to be
Year.
Defensive Player of the Year and win the Super Bowl to get the extra $2 million.
Didn't get it all back.
No, he didn't. I think he got what he would have.
Very close, but didn't get it all back.
So
who knows? These are the things that don't really matter.
We'll see what he gets in the offseason and where he gets it from. And speaking of millions of dollars, Caitlin Clark broke the record last night of Kelsey Plum from Washington for the NCAA all-time leading scorer in women's basketball. We know that before the NCAA acknowledged women's basketball, Lynette Woodard at KU still has that particular record of the most scored of at any time of women's basketball. Caitlin Clark will break that record. She's like 80 points away, which could be 2 games based on how she's playing. She's like 90-something points away from Pistol Pete and his record, even though he did it in 3 years, whatever. But she breaks the record last night.
Real quickly, there was no 3-pointer for Pistol Pete either.
That's exactly right.
That's the amazing thing.
Or Lynette Woodard. Yeah.
You go watch Pistol Pete's shots. He might. If you could probably go back there and computerize, do it.
How many
and
points
be
it would
like,
have been?
I don't know.
Somebody
another
should do that.
1,000 points.
Somebody should.
There's not footage of every play that happened, probably.
Yeah.
But it's silly.
Yeah, somebody should probably
without
do that if they could find it. She ends up last night with 49 points, 13 assists, and 5 rebounds, 9 of 18 behind the arc, and the record-breaking shot. She said she wanted to do it, and the audacity then to do that. She wanted to break the record by making a shot from the logo.
Yeah. It is a big logo, but it's still far away.
It's a big logo, right? But it's a
healthy shot. It's 30+.
It's like a 5-point rock and jock.
And it didn't touch
shot.
iron. I mean, it didn't touch iron.
It was beautiful.
Amazing.
It was beautiful, and to pull up and to bury that one, it's like no way she does it on this shot, man. And she absolutely did. So, congratulations to Caitlin Clark, and it's been fun, watching her. And watching what K-State has done this year and women's basketball, how dominant South Carolina's been. Angel Reese and the Caitlin Clark rivalry that was created Then Angel Reese tweets out last night about keep going, Caitlin. Congratulations. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, that's great. So maybe there isn't much of a rivalry, at least how it's made out to be.
They face each other. It'll be a rivalry.
It'll be a rivalry. Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're
they'll hate each other that day.
Absolutely. They're very great competitors.
Yes.
I'd say there's a Chiefs connection, too. She's been to Chiefs games.
That's exactly right.
There are several players who had Caitlin Clark jerseys hung up in their lockers.
Really?
For the Chiefs. I've seen that around, like a couple of wide receivers. I know Chris Jones.
Pretty awesome.
You've seen the video of her and him. I mean, they're like, there's a great amount of respect there.
Absolutely.
So it's,
she
it's
grew
really
up.
cool.
She grew up in a Chiefs family. She said that was her tradition. Was every Sunday her family watched the Chiefs game together. That's what they did. That's how they got all the family time. Was on Sunday, no matter what they were doing, where they were at, they came together and watched Chiefs games. And she's been to a couple of Chiefs games, which is why, like. I bet it probably bothered her a lot that, last year when the Chiefs ended up, or maybe it was 2 years ago, whenever it was, but the Chiefs losing to like the Bengals or whatever it was, and Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and it was like they showed the two of them, and it had Angel Reese with a Chiefs thing on it, or it was after this last year going into the Super Bowl for the Chiefs against the Eagles after they had won. It had Angel Reese with a Chiefs arrowhead on her, and it had a Bengals logo on Caitlin Clark, and it was talking about sort of the trash talking and then trash talking, being thrown back in their face, right, and it was that, and it was like, boy, I bet Caitlin Clark really hates that.
Yeah.
Is that she's got the Bengals logo on her when she's the huge Chiefs fan, but
it is interesting to see.
She's so
like
much
she'll
fun
have
to watch.
She'll have a decision. The NIL has changed the world. She probably shouldn't go to the WNBA yet. There's some other money out there to make, but being Caitlin Clark in Iowa City is a much better deal right now than being Caitlin Clark playing the WNBA
She'll be with the Indiana Fever,
and then having to go to on the off season going into another country to play basketball to make more money. I think the highest salary in the WNBA is $250,000 or something like that. You know what I mean? And there's a scale there. So you'd be a rookie. You can make money outside, but you can already make money outside. Yeah. So why not?
She can do it at Iowa, being Caitlin Clark at Iowa and making NIL money. She got the Gatorade deal. I don't know how much Gatorade is paying her with the NIL, but whatever it is, it's probably worth it, or even below market for what she's doing for women's basketball and what she's doing for opposing arenas.
Yeah.
They're selling out every opposing arena she goes to because she's the star.
And this is the whole point of what NIL was about to begin with.
That's true.
Because had she been, there have been plenty of players who are fantastic, not this fantastic scoring-wise, who fill other arenas and do things, and then nothing trickled to them.
Yep,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so now you're buying a 22 jersey. She's getting money too. Yep. The school gets money. She gets money. She can get money from sponsors and all of that stuff. She can make money on Instagram and
it's amazing
TikTok
though
and
that
all the stuff.
The college basketball aspect, like she'll get more. I feel like there's way more coverage and people watching Caitlin Clark in college than there are people watching some of the great women that play in the WNBA. And if she's on the Fever next year as opposed to Iowa, are people going to be paying attention, watching as much as if she's on the? Because they got the number one pick.
It's a different time of year. It's a different. There's different things. I don't know. I think she'll be great for the league for sure. But there's something about college basketball.
Yes.
And now that you can make money in college sports, I don't know all the details of what it is, but right now I would lean toward I'd stay in college for a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you can make 7 figures in college and get there, which I believe she absolutely could, make 7 figures in college if she were to return next year. And I'll say this too,
it's easier to score 40 points in college than it is in the WNBA because everybody's good in the WNBA. I'm not saying she's playing against people who aren't that good, but it's just another level up. Yeah. It's just one more level up.
Yeah, she is so much like head and shoulders better than some of the competition on the floor with her.
And that will change.
Yes.
Because, listen, she's a great shooter and stuff, but then all of a sudden someone's maybe 4 inches taller than you guarding you, and you can't shoot that shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It'll be interesting to see.
I say do whatever you want.
Yes.
But keep playing and having fun with it and make everything you can right now, man.
I say do whatever you want, but return to college.
I would love to see it.
Do whatever you want, but I'd love to see you at Iowa again next year.
Yeah.
And I know Hawkeye fans definitely
would you go back to college and have fun for another year? It'd be great.
I think I would. Yeah, would I go back to college for another year? Heck yeah.
You didn't. You took your extra years in college already.
I absolutely did. I definitely took the extra years in college. I could have. I think I had like 6 credit hours I needed in I went ahead and went
grinding
back for
right
another,
through it. Yeah, I
went
gotta
back
go.
for another semester.
I got
Like,
6 electives, 1 hour at a time.
I got 2 classes that are 3 credit hours apiece, and that's it. That's my final semester. Move back into the fraternity house for the final semester. Whatever.
Hello,
Man,
doctor. No, I'm not a doctor.
That guy's so old. He's like 23.
So old.
Actually, I'm 24, but whatever. You know, who's really counting, you know?
Oh, boy.
No, I'm pretty much, I'm about to get my insurance lowered. That's right, yep.
I can rent a car. Welcome, boys.
I'm getting ready to rent a car next year. So if you're looking for somebody to rent a car, you reach out to me. I got that taken care of for you. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and I do want to get into the Chiefs defense. We'll talk about some of the historical numbers that the Chiefs defense put out there. We know that there are some decisions that the Chiefs have to make going into this offseason with a couple of big-time players. But, how much clout, how much of the respect historically that they warrant will be given to that side of the football. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk with Matt Derrick coming up at 11 o'clock. Chiefs Digest, 41 is the Mike podcast. And one of the things that I'll ask Matt, and we'll get into the conversation with, is, this Chiefs defense and how good they are. Because I think there's a real chance that this offseason that they change some of the dynamics of the team, that from a really strong defense to a good defense, and they're going to go back to their really strong offensive ways. That's what's so much more comfortable for them. But this defense was really, really good. The Chiefs' defense held the first, third, fourth, and fifth best offenses in terms of expected points added to under 16 points per game in the playoffs. Miami went from .09, which was the fourth best, to negative .2 expected points added. Baltimore was .07, which was the fifth best, to negative .2. San Francisco was the number one offense at .18, and they were at 0. Expected points added were even for the 49ers in the game. And the Buffalo Bills, the number 3 offense, was .10. In the game against the Chiefs, it was .14. So the only offense that played at their level throughout the season, in the regular season, or in the postseason against the Chiefs, was the Buffalo Bills. The other ones were negative, and just 0. And that's 3 of the top 5 offenses in the league. And they didn't get a chance to play the Dallas Cowboys, the only other team that was in the top 5. 4 of the top 5 offenses they held to under 16 points. It was a historically great run for the defense. And yet on Monday, the first hour of our show was about Patrick Mahomes and all of the things that he has accomplished, and the final 2 drives, and what he did at the end of regulation, what he did in overtime, being 13 of 16 for 100 yards, a 114 quarterback rating in those final 2 drives, 4 with a touchdown, 4 carries, 3 of those resulting in first downs. Like, just brilliant football. Both times he took the field. If you don't score, you lose the game. He just simply turned it on. This defense has been amazing, and even locally, the first and main story is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, he's the sun. He's a gravitational pull.
And I wonder if a team and a defense like the Chiefs could ever get the respect, and I don't mean even specifically this one, but just in general, could ever get the respect that it would deserve, because you have an all-time great quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, and he was Super Bowl MVP.
Quarterbacks take the limelight unless you end up like if you're the 85 Bears or the Ravens,
Brad
Trent
Johnson,
Dilfer,
Trent Dilfer,
those things aren't going to happen.
that.
But
Jake
when you
Delhomme.
think of even like the 2018 Patriots, they beat the Chiefs in the shootout here, and they won the Super Bowl. It was Tom Brady's 6th. It wasn't, they held the Rams, who had scored like 40 points a game, to 3 points.
To 3 points.
I mean, and Tom Brady went to Tampa and won. Oh, it's his 7th. Did you just hold the Chiefs to no touchdowns? You held Patrick Mahomes to no touchdowns, regardless of the fact that the tackles were hurt. They didn't score a touchdown in a game. No, it's all about Tom Brady. That's just how it goes. Tom Brady, the best of Tom Brady probably won 2 Super Bowls, and like the defense might have been responsible for 5 of them, 4.5 of them. I don't know. You know what I mean? But the
defense was definitely responsible for the one against the Rams. The defense
probably
early
the Eagles,
and probably the
Eagles. I would say the second Rams won 2. The first Rams won, the St. Louis Rams, and then the other Rams won. And listen, they did enough.
He was responsible with the Atlanta Falcons. They were down 28-3 because they gave up 28. Defense gave up 28 points there, so they were down 25 for a reason.
Yes,
and then he went crazy.
It's just how it goes. When you're a star quarterback, you're going to get the credit for it, and that's just the league now.
I mean, Peyton Manning got his 2nd Super Bowl. And that offense was
awful.
It was an awful offense.
He had been benched. The Chiefs had ended him.
That defense
in Denver
was so. Von Miller was the Super Bowl MVP of that Super Bowl, but it was Peyton Manning's 2nd Super Bowl and one. Like, that defense carried Manning to his 2nd Super Bowl championship, which was big for him, because you can't be
big deal.
To me, you can't be considered one of the greats or the greatest of all time if you don't have multiple Super Bowls.
Well, you can't be. He was going to end up being 1 and 3.
Yeah.
You know, and
Instead
that's why
he goes
this
2-2.
this was a big one for Patrick too. You know, 3-1 is better than 2-2. All that, and Peyton in that. I mean, seriously, he had to come off the bench in week 17 or whatever it was. I don't know if it was 17 or 18. It was 16-game season back then. Week 17, we were out there. The Chiefs were trying to they had won their game. If the Chargers had beaten the Broncos, the Chiefs were going to win the division, or they'd swept that team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they had to bring him back in, and he rag-armed a couple of passes out there, and they ended up winning. And then they won all their playoff games because Tom Brady went out there and scored teens.
Yeah.
And then they played Cam Newton.
The number one offense in the
teens.
NFL. I mean, Cam Newton and the Panthers were the number one offense in the NFL, and in the fourth quarter they had 14 points, and then the defense gets the was it the scoop and score there when Cam Newton didn't fall on the ball,
right? There's
or whatever,
plenty
or
of things that happened.
They picked it up or whatever.
They
it might
had
be,
lots of turnovers in that game, so that defense I think probably still gets considered as a great defense, but still Peyton Manning is a quarterback, and so it was his.
And people don't even when you say
it was his last.
Who was the most
hurrah.
recent defensive player to win MVP? And it's like, was it a guy with the Bucks? Was it back with? No, it was Von Miller.
Yeah,
it was Von Miller.
Great that day.
Recently, with the Broncos and Peyton Manning.
It's only 8 years ago. You should pay that guy a lot of money. He'll be healthy.
He'll be healthy for a long time.
Be just fine.
I'll tell you this: if you're desperate to finally catch a team that might be dynastic, I would pay him as much money in the world as you can because your window's closing.
Yeah,
it's closing. You may not have one. I don't know that they'll ever get the true respect, and
they
especially
were unbelievable. I think they get credit in that building for sure. Patrick Mahomes gives them credit. He's given them credit all year, but in the end, do they care?
I don't think
probably not.
I think the defense might care if historically people look back and talk about how amazing Mahomes was in the Super Bowl, and because even in that San Francisco Super Bowl, like the defense had to give the ball back to Mahomes time and time again and keep them to only 20 the first go around. 2
monstrous, tremendous plays that led to a punt and a field goal, or a field goal and a field goal. Because if they don't make the play at the end of regulation at the 2-minute warning, McDuffie blitzes in and tips the ball. If the Niners complete that pass and have a first down, there's nothing.
Yeah, they probably run out the clock.
They'll run out the clock, kick field goal.
And Moody
Chiefs
probably makes it.
He may miss it.
Yeah, I would say he probably makes it.
And
he made the one there just after the 2-minute warning.
But that doesn't change the rules of overtime.
No.
But they would still maybe make the wrong if they missed it. But if they control the world there, if they have the ball, the Chiefs have only 2 timeouts left. They can just run Christian McCaffrey a couple of times and kick the ball with no time on the clock. But they came up with a good play. McDuffie blitzed and blocked the pass.
Yeah.
And then I think they made a tremendous mistake on the third down by the goal line in overtime where they forgot that 95 was out there. Even still then, there wasn't a very good pass. I get Brock Purdy's like, oh, look at this big SOB running me down. I can't really throw a great pass. We've seen some quarterbacks we've seen Josh Allen make some crazy passes. Patrick Mahomes make some crazy passes while they're getting hit or whatever. They were better than that. I get it, though. But without those plays, because the defense had not stopped them. Those drives were lengthy, but they made those plays. The Chiefs don't have a chance to tie the game or win the game without those plays. They know that. Does the rest of the world care? No, probably not.
The defense, I just say the offense. So from halftime against the Ravens until the final 2 minutes against the 49ers, the offense went 10 drives without scoring, going up against the number 1 and number 5 offenses in the NFL, and the defense gave up 13 points. In that entire time. Gave up 13 points when they went 10 drives without putting points on the board. That means punting the ball. It means short fields at times. The interception although that was different in terms they had already scored right before that, but even to start the second half with the interception and then the Chiefs get a stop to punt it away. The 49ers don't score after that interception by, Patrick Mahomes. Like the defense stepped up time and time and time again. And to have an offense like this go 10 consecutive drives and almost a full game, an entire second half against the Ravens and up until the final, 2 minutes against the 49ers where they kicked the field goal with 20 seconds left. So they went pretty much an entire game without scoring a point, and they would have lost 13-3 against the number 1 and number 5 best offenses in the NFL.
They just kept making plays, and I also I know we've talked about a lot of these things. You got to credit the special teams as well. Tommy Townsend was elite punting. He was outstanding. They recovered a fumble on the ball where it hit the defender's ankle, and then Ray McLeod couldn't pick it up. They did the right thing. They didn't try to do anything silly. I think early in the year, they were trying to always pick the ball up. These last 2 games, George Karlaftis just jumped on the ball when Minihue caused the fumble. Just jumped on the ball when Leo Chanel caused the fumble. Great recovery by Jalen Watson, not trying to do anything fancy, just jumped on the ball. Huge play. That was a turning point for sure.
It's huge.
In the game. And then, it ended up being Chanel and Dana both, but whoever hit the ball first, they were blocking that field goal.
Yeah.
That was great stuff, man. And that's the kind of stuff you just can't bet on blocking an extra point.
Mm-hmm.
But they did that. They just did all those little things that during the year they couldn't consistently do that. That's why they lost those 4 games at home, because they would try to pick the ball up or it squirts out of their hands and they don't recover it, or then we don't make this extra effort to do this, and that's why they lost those games. They weren't getting their brains beat in. They just lost some games. Look, just don't quite catch this ball. Just don't quite do this. They needed every single one of those things.
Yeah,
even the Niners.
Even the embarrassing game to the Raiders, they lost by 6 points.
Yeah,
like we got embarrassed. We got out physical. We got out tough. They came in and punched us in the mouth and just pushed us around, and we lost by less than a touchdown.
Yeah, even the ended up they got beat pretty bad by the Broncos, but they were -4 in turnovers. If it was -2, who knows?
Yeah,
I mean, there's just all those things. You have to do the little things, and they say it all the time, and it's boring. We'll clean it up. We'll clean it up.
We're tick off. We're close. We're close.
I don't know how you do it, but they did it.
Yeah, they did it when it mattered.
Just talking about it, maybe that works.
Did it when it mattered. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up this hour. We'll talk with Matt Derrick coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. More Zone next. lot more stuff to get to. We will talk with Matt Derrick coming up in the 11 o'clock hour, hanging out with him in studio. Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. We'll talk about the dynasty for the Chiefs, back-to-back for the Chiefs, going for three-peat for the Chiefs. They talked about it on the stage after the Super Bowl and on the stage on Wednesday. Three-peat. That's what they want. Travis Kelce even saying, we wanted 3. We can't get 3 without 2. That's how important this one was. Because we wanted 3. That's why this one was so important. Interesting. Looking at 3 before you got to 2, but they got to 2. So we'll talk with Matt Derrick about that. Maybe get his thoughts on the conversation we were just having about how great this defense has been, and look ahead to this offseason, kind of the things that the Chiefs need to figure out and decide, and rank as to what the most important parts are. And they'll figure that out, and we'll do that as well with Matt Derrick.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Dylan Michaels heading up until 2 o'clock. Joined now by Matt Derrick. Chiefs Digest. 41 is the Mike podcast. He's presented by Cap One Lending. The Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending is the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time and gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to caponelending.com. Matt, welcome into the show. How are you, sir?
I am doing decently, Jason. Yeah. You and Leabo did have me trying to read the collective bargaining agreement on my way in. So
while it was snowing, stoplights, CBA.
Exactly.
Okay, let me drive. Sorry about that. Hey, don't honk too. I'm trying to read the CBA up here. I apologize. Has anybody else honked at a car that was sitting at a red light that the car in front of them that apparently was reading the CBA? I don't know that that's ever happened before. Just randomly reading the collective bargaining agreement.
I'm sure it's probably happened. I mean, there's got to be. I
don't know.
Maybe the Katz brothers have done it. I don't know.
No, they've never read it. Let's be honest.
Safe to say they have not.
They have yet to read that thing. But thank you for coming in today, sir. I do want to start on the somber note, and then we'll get into football. Everybody has their different experience of what took place. I'm just curious of what yours was on Wednesday when what was such a celebratory day and just a fun day, an awesome day that turned into something completely different.
Yeah, I was at home. I mean, for my job, which I was going to be covering the speeches and what the players had to say at the parade. So doing that at the parade is difficult to impossible.
Right.
I mean, hearing anything, there's no place to work afterwards or anything of that nature. So, I've learned the best way to cover the parade, unfortunately, is from home. I mean, you get obviously excellent audio. I can work from there and everything. So you miss out a little bit, but I was watching and I heard the pops on the broadcast and then saw Kevin Holmes and I think Caitlin Newton was there, and Mick was there, and then but Kevin started talking about the crowds running.
He's like, "There's a commotion, or there's something going on here."
Yeah, and so then you just go into reporter mode of just trying to find out what's going on and get the information out there. I mean, there's still a lot that we've got to learn.
Yeah,
don't know everything yet, and there'll be lessons to learn, things that we'll take away from this, whether it's for an event like this in a public event or whether it's the bigger issues in our community. We'll find out the information, and I'm hoping that we'll act on that information down the road. But one thing there's been a debate about that I've heard the last few days, and I hope that on this one we can kind of come together, and I get it, absolutely, that there's going to be a lot of people in our community who are permanently changed from this, whether they were personally or directly affected or not. Maybe they were indirectly affected. Maybe you just saw what happened and it changes your perspective on things. I get that. I mean, absolutely. I completely get it. I was that way in college. I was a senior with the Oklahoma City bombing to happen and just a month away from graduating. And at that point, my plan was to go into reporting. I was going to be a reporter and everything. And watching the coverage of the Oklahoma City bombing, I was like, I don't know if I could have done that. I don't know that, and seeing all these people in need, all these people who are scared, all of this just absolute chaos around them, I could not take a camera and put it in somebody's face. I could not be doing that. I would want to be helping. I would want to be doing something. I couldn't just, even though that would be the job, would be to tell the story.
It would be part of helping, is telling the story and get all the different information out there of firsthand accounts.
I just realized that was going to be too difficult. And even though that would be, a once-in-a-lifetime horrific event, still, I mean, I could not do that. And, I knew it that direction. So, my career took a different path because of that. And and hey, I realize what I'm doing right now. I'm not changing the world. I mean, it's sports journalism. It's a diversion.
Yeah.
We absolutely, hopefully, give people a diversion in their lives most of the time. But I mean, I get it's not the most important thing in the world, and I probably, it's moments like these that I feel like I should probably be doing something different with my life, something more productive, something more contributing to the community. I definitely always feel like that. But after events like this, I'm like, why am I on the sidelines? Why aren't I doing more? I mean, I should be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going a lot of different ways here, Jason, but I wanted to culminate with this, which is that I hope that, because I know there's been a lot of talk about whether, there'll ever be another parade or whether other cities will do parades after this. I hope we do. I hope they continue to do them.
Me too.
I mean, if the Chiefs three-peat, I hope that the parade next year is just as big, if not bigger. I mean, you can't let fear change everything. You can't let it take away the joys in your life and the little things. And I think we do a pretty good job of that the most of the time. But, I mean, that's the thing is that, this was, as you said, I mean, it was a joyous day. It was a great day for the community until that happened. Everybody was having fun. That can happen again. This is hopefully an isolated incident that wouldn't happen going forward. Hopefully there's things like, I talked about at the beginning that we'll learn lessons and can move on from that and maybe make things better in the city in which we live. But you can't let things like this change the way that you live your life and the joy that you take from life. And I hope we are able to do that.
Yeah, I was talking on Wednesday night, talking with my son and sort of trying to get his perspective and processing because we were down there and then, hearing everything that, on the radio and stuff and then getting home and seeing the TV coverage and all of that stuff. And he obviously knew, he's 8 years old, knew what was going on. And, trying to talk with him and seeing how he was feeling and processing everything on Wednesday night. And he had talked about how, he was scared and I said, it's natural, for you to be scared. You're learning things about the world every day, learning things in school. You're getting more and more life experiences and everything. And so I said, it's natural to be scared. And, he had questions and everything like that. And then yesterday when I got home, he didn't have school and then checking on him again. And I was like, hey, how you feeling today? And he's like, still scared and everything. And he said, Daddy, one of the kids was 8 years old that got shot. And I said, I know, Bubba. And I said, Lisa, who passed away, she was 43. I mean, that's my age. And maybe I shouldn't have said that because that made him even more sad. But, and then huge hug, right? And we embrace. And one of the things that I wanted to convey to him, and I said, it's okay to be scared. I said, but it can't let you or make you stop living your life. Like we still need to enjoy life. And that means if we go places and have fun. It means if we go back to Disney World or Disneyland, that we're having fun. It means if we go on vacation somewhere, it means if we go to a concert, it means if we go different places that we want to enjoy life. But it's also why whenever we leave, we always say, I love you. We always, do that. So we know how much everybody means to each other because, you never know. But that's part of living your life, Bubba, is just that. And you're scared right now and it's unfortunate. And I said, but unfortunately that we have sort of let your generation down in that 3 years of your life, you've done active shooter drills at school. And I said, the police officers have done those drills and they're enacting that and it's becoming, real life for them. And that's why they train. That's why they do those things. And I said, that's why you guys do those things at school. And in 2 years, when he's 10 years old, half of his life will have been doing active shooter drills in school because he would be in school for 5 years of his, he was 5 years old when he, got to elementary school and November birthday. And I'm like, you've been doing this for 3 years of your life now. You're in, second grade. You've had kindergarten, first grade, second grade. You've been doing this. This is part of it. But it doesn't mean you need to be scared going to school. It doesn't mean you need to be scared doing those things. It's okay to be scared now, and we'll continue to talk about it. And there's no playbook. I have no idea if that was right or not. No clue. Maybe that was the worst thing to say to him. I have no idea. I'll find out in 20 or 30 years, if we'll find out then if we did so. When he yells at me when he's a teenager and tells me everything's my fault, then I'll figure out whether or not it was the right thing to do or not.
I mean, Jason, I'm scared all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I'm scared right now. I mean, I get scared talking to you on the radio.
Makes sense.
I get scared, repeatedly. But, you can't let it control you. I mean, hey, there are things that you can do to help overcome it. There's people out there who will help you.
Absolutely.
Can't be afraid to ask for help.
Yep.
I've asked for help, and it's usually been the best decisions I've ever made.
Yep. And I would say ditto. And I would say that people parent. I don't think I'm breaking news or telling any parent something that they haven't already done. But make sure you're just talking to them just to get their perspective. As make sure they're telling. Because if I didn't talk to him, I wouldn't know that he's scared and things. But just talking to him and hopefully it helps him. Getting those emotions out and letting people know that. But I'm with you that if they win it next year, I hope there's a parade. St. Patrick's Day parade. I hope those continue. And people go out and show, because you know what, the Boston Marathon continued, and they showed year after year that that's not going to keep them from living their lives and enjoying their lives and live in fear, that they are going to overcome that and not let those actions win that took place, because that's what was trying to be accomplished there. This one was different. Then doesn't seem to be anything terror related. Other than a dispute that took place, and I'm not sure that they were trying to enact terror and fear into everybody so that they can get some ideological viewpoint across. But it still doesn't mean that we can't move forward and not let that particular part of life win.
And like I said, I mean, even though I feel like what I do for a living maybe not the most important thing in the world, I'm at least enough of a student of history and this industry to know that, hey, sports can be a way for you to escape and for things to get better.
Yep.
Baseball was never more popular than it was during the 30s and 40s, and particularly in the 40s, because people had the war. Baseball thrived during the war. The President of the United States sent a letter to the Commissioner of Baseball saying, you can't shut down baseball because people need it. They need a diversion. They need to be able to go into the paper and look at the box scores and find out what's going on. New York, the World Series after September 11th was such an incredible piece of that city healing and for everybody just moving forward. And I mean the Boston Marathon bombing. I mean, David Ortiz will go down as that speech will go down as one of the best speeches in history.
Yeah.
And I would fully expect that, hey, you know what? If the Chiefs had decided to do a rally at Arrowhead this weekend, I'm sure that Travis Kelce would be up there screaming about, this is our freaking city. And
yeah. Yep. I'm in agreement. And you know what? If they were doing that, I'd love to attend. I don't know that my son would go at this point.
And I understand that.
And I would totally understand it. And I would understand in the future if people go, I'm never going back to a parade.
Sure,
I totally get that,
I get
too.
that. Doesn't mean we shouldn't have one.
Yeah, people live the lives that they feel like is best suited, for them to live their lives. Matt Derrick, ChiefsDigest.com, 41 is the Mike podcast. We will make the transition into actual sports and try to, enjoy that aspect of it and still celebrate this team and try to separate the two between this team and what happened this year and give that break, that little bit of reprieve from life and real life things and play in the sandbox a little bit more and have fun with our fun. It's still surreal to say back to back.
Yeah.
Like it's almost a week now and just like back to back, because last year at the parade, the players on stage saying, Patrick Mahomes, we'll see you here again next year. Chris Jones chanting, run it back. It's just what people say at parades. It's just what everybody at a parade says. We're going to do it again next year. Let's do it. We'll see you back here next year. We're going to win again. It's just what you say. For 2 decades, people have been saying that in many different sports, but certainly in football. And they went and done that. Went and did that. They have done that. They went and done that.
Went and done that.
They done that.
They got her done.
They done went and won. But they got it done, and it's still surreal to think about saying back-to-back champions for this now dynasty of the Kansas City Chiefs era.
It is. I mean, I can at the same time I find myself completely and totally understanding it and not being surprised by it at all, and then the other side being completely stunned. I mean, we were talking about this throughout most of the regular season, that especially once things got kind of rough for this team, I could still see an entire range of outcomes from this team bowing out in the wild card round to winning a Super Bowl. So, I mean, it's not a surprise. You've got Patrick Mahomes, But I think that's at least to me, I keep getting asked, what I'll learn about this and what's what's maybe a lot of lesson going forward. And I mean, to me, it's the words of Marty Schottenheimer are finally ringing true, which is that you get in the tournament and anything can happen. Only thing is that you have to have the quarterback.
Yeah, you get in the tournament with 15.
If your defense can get you into the tournament, maybe that's all you need, and then turn it over to 15, because anything can happen. And that's, to me, is just the most remarkable thing about this is just it's this team, it's resiliency, it's coaching, it's players. I mean, for them to have struggled as they did throughout the regular season, particularly the offense, and frankly, all of those flaws absolutely coming forward on the first half.
Right.
I mean, everything that they did wrong during the regular season, they did in the first half of that football game offensively. And then to just flip a switch after the Mahomes interception, beginning of the second half, and then just absolutely play flawless football is absolutely mind-boggling to me.
It is, and it's eerie in that it's a recall to the 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl in Super Bowl 54, in that the Chiefs were struggling with only 10 points, and then it was 3rd and 15, and they're able to have a break in the action because of the review of the incomplete pass to Tyreek Hill, and we know famously now Jet Chip Wasp, and just that play from then on is completely different. They go down and they have 3 straight drives of scoring touchdowns, and next thing you know, they end up winning by 11 points, 31-10 or 31-20, and down by 10 points and struggling to that point in the game and just looking different. And Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense, the first time they scored a touchdown was from 16 yards. I mean, the punt that landed and hit the foot of the special teamer for the 49ers, and then Ray McLeod could not secure. And Jalen Watson, one heck of a fumble recovery on that, running as fast as he was, and then to scoop it with his right hand while falling and getting hit by a 49er. That was great. But that ends up, being such a turning point in the game. And then the Chiefs just, sort of flawless from that point, just playing great football and converting, and Mahomes making the reads and making the throws, and the offensive line opening up holes and getting outside a couple of times for, Isaiah Pacheco, and they weren't really able to do that at different times. Like it was eerily similar to a degree of the first 49ers Super Bowl. And I'm assuming the 49ers, if they play the Chiefs again in the Super Bowl, do not want a 10-point lead. Don't go up by 10 points in the game. You know what you should do? Give them a 10-point lead. Start out by allowing a touchdown and a field goal on the first 2 drives, and then go. And then get rolling and say, it's our turn. Now we're down by 10 points. This is different.
And I was going back to make sure I had my thoughts here correct and make sure I had my numbers. I think my numbers are even worse than I was thinking. They are. Because after the Mahomes turnover, I mean, that's the moment that I was like, man, maybe they're not. I mean, I was completely convinced, even in the first half, being where they were and everything score-wise, it's like, man, the 49ers should be up by more.
Yep.
So the fact that they're not, the fact that this defense has gotten a couple of big stops, you've gotten the offense exactly, and if the Chiefs offensively can go out there and score in that first possession, and here are the 49ers playing maybe the best that they can possibly play against this team, and they had a lead, had a chance for it to be bigger, and now here they are, don't even have the football yet in the second half, and they're already down. I mean, I was thinking that would have been it. I mean, Chiefs would have just run away. And then the turnover, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, they're gonna this is gonna be a little bit more of a struggle. I mean, maybe it will be the final 10 minutes of the game again, like it was in 54 before this team wakes up. We'll see what happens. And then the 49ers come out, and Purdy throws the ball in the first play of their drive. And I'm like, what in the freaking world is Kyle Shanahan doing here? I mean, and the reality of it is that he's sitting there thinking to himself, okay, I gotta score as many points as I can against these guys. It's not like I got a lead.
Quick change, we're going to go and get them.
It's not like I got a lead and I need to milk it here. He was like, nope, I need to put these guys, I need to throw the knockout punch. And they took a big old swing at the Chiefs and they missed. And when you do that, I mean, it's like the saying goes, you go at the king, you better get him down. And they didn't. So what? I think the 49ers threw the ball, or at least had dropbacks on 8 of their first 9 plays of the second half.
Yeah.
McCaffrey gets 1 run. I mean, and I think they threw the ball to him at least once in that stretch too. But the fact that your first 9 plays, and you obviously go 3 and out in those 9 plays 3 times, and you've got 8 dropbacks, and when you're leading the game and you've got Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, what in the world are you doing, Kyle Shanahan? I mean, absolutely just played the Chiefs back into that game.
The first 13 plays, 1, 2, 3, 4 runs in their first 13 plays after that interception. So the next 13 plays, I should say. So after that interception, for 13 plays, they ran the ball 4 times. And Leo Chanel, that play action, I mean, Chanel just comes right through untouched and forces that incompletion, and then you get the false start, you get incompletion, and then you get the sack by, or not the sack, but Willie Gay was there as the spy, and that's something else that we can talk about, and there's so many different takeaways from this game, is that each and every third down, the Chiefs had a spy on Brock Purdy. Spagnuolo was not going to let his legs beat them. He was not going to fall into the trap of what the Lions had happened to them in the second half. If Brock Purdy was going to run, there was going to be a spy. And they had already had that sort of defense 3 weeks ago with the Bills and 2 weeks ago with the Ravens, and now with Brock Purdy, the least athletic of those 3, that we're going to have a spy there, and that guy's not going to get outside. He's not Lamar Jackson to be able to turn the corner. He's not Josh Allen to be able to break a tackle. That we're going to have a guy there, and when the guy gets there, they're going to bring him down. And that's exactly what happened. Willie Gay chasing down Brock Purdy, Justin Reed chasing down Brock Purdy in the second half on third downs when he tried to get out and scramble. Those things did not result in first downs, where they did against the Lions. And that wasn't going to happen. There's just so many different things about this. As we take a break, how would you describe this Super Bowl run? Is it improbable? I mean, unlikely, impressive, inevitable? Like, it doesn't have to be one word. But those are there's
definitely a Thanos kind of element to it for sure.
Right, but I mean, from the beginning of the season, they were the Super Bowl favorites, to being 6-1, getting ready for the Eagles, and it was going to be a Super Bowl rematch or a Super Bowl preview, to then getting beat by the Raiders, and okay, this is just not the year, to then going on the toughest road that anybody has ever taken in the playoffs to win a Super Bowl and to get it done.
I mean, I would say Cinderella-esque if I really thought this team was an underdog, but, this team's should never really be an underdog. You can't be the defending champions and be an underdog. So I don't know if I can say that. Storybook is about the best I think I can come up with, because, I mean, if you're making a movie, I mean, it's fantastic. You get that Raiders game, and like you said, it was only a 6-point loss.
6-point loss. It felt so bad at the time.
Yeah.
It's so terrible. Like, they lost by 6.
As much as we continue to lament that, and the team just talks about how that was a butt kicking. You really expect to just go back and think to yourself, yeah, that was. Ooh, the Raiders put a whooping on them, 42-10. I mean, they weren't even in that thing. And then be like, yeah, it was a 6-point loss. Well, okay, maybe that wasn't as much. But, no, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, that team was down. I just remember even in the locker room that week, it was incredibly quiet. I mean, there wasn't the usual. I mean, it was – but it wasn't somber. It was just serious. I mean, you could get that. I didn't get the sense in the locker room that week that the guys were depressed or anything of that nature, that they were down. But it was just like you could just tell that this was a team that was doing some soul searching that week.
Yeah,
that they were really kind of digging down. That there was kind of a renewed focus and just digging in. It wasn't a group that felt like that they got their tail between their legs or anything of that nature. And you didn't feel like this was Dad Andy Reid coming in and reading the riot act. I mean, this was a group that, realized that they messed up, that they were in that situation themselves, and the only way out of it was getting serious, putting their head down, working hard, getting out of it.
Yeah. And that was the splash of cold water when, the Chiefs score to make it 6 and the Raiders get the ball back and you got 2 timeouts and they just run it down your throat and then take knees and end the game. And it's like, because the entire fourth quarter, I'm like, okay, they're going to figure this out. They're going to figure this out. And then they scored, and I'm like, okay, 3 minutes to go. They got 2 timeouts. This is just what's going to happen. Chiefs are going to get the stop the run. They know they're going to run the ball. They're going to stop the run. The Chiefs are going to get the ball back. They're going to win 21-20. Until they didn't. And then it was, how depressing. And you ruined my Christmas.
And just think, I mean, all these times that we're talking about right now, Kyle Shanahan throwing the football there at the beginning of the first half, And frankly, even the last play, I mean, I don't know if I could have thrown the ball in that situation, because I think the last thing I want to do in that spot right there is stop the clock for the Chiefs.
Well, and are you talking about 3rd and 4? The last play of regulation for them?
For them.
Yeah,
right.
I see what you're saying. I thought maybe you were thinking about the last play of overtime for them, where it's like, okay, if they run the ball and you pick up a couple of yards, now you make it a manageable 4th down conversion, or at least attempt, and you say, look, we need to score a touchdown here. But that's the issue with receiving it first, is that you don't have the information. And
they had 3, and at the end of regulation on that last drive of their own, I mean, Brock Purdy's looking over there, and you've seen the formation that the Chiefs put out there. What Spags had put out there.
Yep.
Brock Purdy had 3 timeouts left at that spot. How he can look over there and see that formation and not say to himself, I need a timeout because I have no idea what in the world these guys are getting ready to do to me.
Yep.
I mean,
they're going to come from somewhere.
I mean, this is a formation I've never seen before. This is an unscouted look. Get me eject.
Yeah.
Get me out of here. But that once again comes back to details and preparation. I mean, did Kyle Shanahan at some point tell Brock Purdy, hey, there's going to be a point in the last 2 minutes of this game, last 4 minutes of this game, that Spags is going to throw something at you you've never seen before, and you got timeout, use it.
Yeah.
Let's get out of it. We'll think about it, but
didn't do it.
Didn't do it,
and Spags did it, and McDuffie did it, and that defense. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling with Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest. 41 is the Mike podcast, presented by Cap One Lending. More Zone next. Chiefs Digest. 41 is the Mike Podcast. He's presented by Cap One Lending. Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending, the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time, gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to caponelending.com. Chiefs on Wednesday announced before the parade that Steve Spagnuolo returning to the Kansas City Chiefs, and we find out on Monday that Joe Cullen very quietly signed another year contract with the Chiefs. I think that might have even been before the Super Bowl, but we find out on Monday that that's what happened. I wasn't expecting Steve Spagnuolo to go anywhere, but it's good to have the information and to know that Spags isn't going anywhere, Joe Cullen isn't going anywhere, Dave Merritt has kids still in high school, right? I mean, this is a defensive staff that the continuity is going to be there, and that's – I mean, I think obviously it's significant, but I'll just ask you, how significant is it for this team that may be having to rebuild some parts of their defense if Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed, either one or both, are not on this team next year?
Huge. I mean, exactly. And you've hit on it. And even I think, and Joe Cullen's going to even be more important because it's not just Chris Jones. I mean, it's Mike Dan as a free agent, Tershawn Wharton, Derek Nottie.
Who's on the PUP list.
Who's going to be on the PUP list to start the season. I mean, you're right now. You're talking about. I mean, your two guys under contract on the outside, and under team control. I mean, throw Malik Herring in there. Okay, you've got George Karlaftis and Felix.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd go into battle with those guys, but you are going to need to rebuild that almost entire defensive line, maybe, depending on how many of these guys you can bring back. But you got to be ready for the prospect of that.
Yeah.
And there's nobody better than that at Joe Cullen. I mean. Obviously, I mean, I think he's pretty much proven if he's not, he should be considered the best defensive line coach in the league. And then the secondary, I mean, you're still going to have most of your core guys around, but if you got to replace L'Jarius, and right now, I don't think there's a better defensive backs coach in the league than Dave Merritt, especially what he's been able to do with taking the players who have the skill set that Spags wants and turning them into the players that he needs.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because to me the importance is, I've argued for a couple of years that Brett Veach and his coaching staff, or his front office staff and the scouts and everything, obviously they do a great job in identifying talent, and they've brought that talent in. There's a part of nature and nurture that goes into this to me, in that I don't know what L'Jarius Sneed would look like as a defensive player in the hands of a couple of different coordinators over his 4 years. Okay, this guy's a coordinator teaching it one way, he gets fired. They bring in another coordinator teaching it one way, okay, he gets fired. And now you're done with your rookie contract. What does L'Jarius Sneed look like? He's got all the traits. He's got, the measurables, the things you can't teach, but he has been taught those things, and he's grown from his rookie year to now being viewed as a guy who's going to get a lot of money, a guy who on, Up and Adams says, pay me. I hope they have enough money for both of us, for Chris Jones and me, but that would be great. But pay me. That's what I would say to the Kansas City Chiefs, and somebody is going to pay him. And he's made $5-6 million in his career so far total. So I don't begrudge the man going out and getting the most money that somebody will pay him.
No.
I say, good for you. Go do that. Go get the most money. If it's the Chiefs, hey, even better. But one of the things that I think the Chiefs have definitely benefited from, and I think Brett Veach and the scouting department they have benefited from, is that you draft the guys with the traits, you draft the guys with the measurables, and now you put them in the hands of really good coaches that can mold them, that can teach the technique the way that they want it taught, and then deploy them in ways that maximize their skill sets. And that's what we've seen. And so with those guys returning, I have all the faith in the world that the Chiefs will draft a defensive player, and he'll be good because he'll come in and learn and go through the techniques and everything. And Joshua Williams, he's not L'Jarius Sneed, but Trent McDuffie is pretty awesome. And I didn't know what they were going to do if they let Charvarius Ward walk, and they did. And they replaced him with Trent McDuffie, and they had Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed. I don't know what they're going to do without L'Jarius Sneed, but I bet the defensive staff has an idea that they can figure out what they will do if he's not on this team.
Yeah. And there's a couple of things about Spags that makes me think, and one of them is kind of the long-term, one short-term. The long-term thing is, remember, the Chiefs won a Super Bowl with Steve Spagnuolo coaching a 4-3 defense with 3-4 personnel. He took over a team that was not in any way whatsoever built for him, and was just handed a group of players, said, "Hey, Steve, make it work. We'll go get the guys you want. We'll go get the talent that you need and the kind of players you like and everything. But just make it work." He made it work to win a Super Bowl in his first year. This year, and the thing we've talked about every year with Steve Spagnuolo is that it takes his teams a little while to get it down and everything. And then this year was like, oh, this defense is so good, it didn't take any time. I mean, they just came out of the box. You know what? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it took 16 weeks for this team to find itself, because as good as they were during the first 16 weeks of the season, between like week 17 to the Super Bowl, they were even better. So, this team did get better throughout the season defensively. I mean, especially at the end of the year.
I mean, the numbers for what the defense did in the playoffs this year.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's the first, second, or the first, third, fourth, and fifth best offenses in EPA. They played in the playoffs and held them to under 16 points per game.
Yeah.
It just is absurd that they would be able to do that. And I hope they get remembered historically for what they have done. I actually think, there's a better chance of this even with Patrick Mahomes than maybe I would give it, because so many people talking about Steve Spagnuolo last week and then, this week, and it being discussed that Steve Spagnuolo got a contract extension on national news on ESPN and all that. Like, Steve Spagnuolo is returning to the Chiefs. Like, that was a big deal. And then Spags is on the Pat McAfee show, I think yesterday or today. I think it was yesterday. I mean, how many defensive coordinators are going on the Pat McAfee show? But he's on there because, hey, you're returning to the Chiefs. And so and Chris Jones getting the love, and L'Jarius Sneed on the Up and Adams podcast, that I do think there's probably a decent chance of this defense being remembered for how good they are, and not just this was another Super Bowl that Patrick Mahomes won, where, Todd and I were talking in the first hour that, do people forget so quickly that Von Miller was the MVP of that Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos beating the Carolina Panthers, because that defense carried Peyton Manning to his second Super Bowl. But Peyton Manning got a second Super Bowl. Look at that. Peyton Manning holding the trophy up there on stage. How amazing that is. Yeah, that defense was amazing. And that was the number one offense in the league in Carolina. And they stymied them and they shut them down. And that's the reason why that team won that Super Bowl. Even they get forgotten for how dominant that defense is. And they didn't have Patrick Mahomes there doing what he did at the end of regulation and in overtime.
I mean, you win 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. And let's even just put the asterisk next to it to say this team's not done yet. So, there's more to come as possibility.
Mm-hmm.
But when you even start talking about the guys who already have it, okay, Chris Jones has 3 rings. I mean, right now, borderline Hall of Fame case.
Yeah.
And he's not done either. So, you can certainly start building a case. There's other players that are on this team that you now can start thinking about. L'Jarius Sneed's got 2 rings. And, after this, he's probably going to get the Pro Bowl and All-Pro respect that he deserves.
Yeah.
So now he's going to probably start making those teams after he's been overlooked.
Donnie Edwards didn't get it until he left to go to a new team as well. He was a free agent, was a big-time free agent signing by the Chargers, and then it's like, oh, this guy's really good. Maybe we should vote for him for Pro Bowl and other postseason awards.
But you get some of these guys on the defensive side with 3, 4, 5 rings, they're going to be able to start making some cases for Hall of Fame cases.
Yep.
Steve Spagnuolo gets another ring or 2. He's a Hall of Famer in my book.
I agree with that.
I mean, that's just, you talk about one of the best coordinators of all time. I mean, that's the conversation that he would go into. And I fully expect, there's going to be some guys on this offense. We know Mahomes. We know Kelsey will be Hall of Famers. There's other potential Hall of Famers on there, too. I mean, they're young careers, but Creed Humphrey, potential Hall of Famer. I mean, certainly on his way if he can play 10 more years at this level.
He just roll right up to the Hall of Fame. He could.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was unnecessary. They won the Super Bowl.
They
won the Super Bowl. That was unnecessary. They won the Super Bowl. Come on.
I am thinking Chris Jones is getting close to Joe Green territory. He's basically 1 ring away, and Joe Green had 2 Defensive Player of the Years, obviously. So I think getting one of those and another ring, you could make an argument. I mean, I know everyone says Aaron Donald, but he has 1 ring. And Chris Jones is stacking championships.
3 of them, and we'll see if he gets more. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and I'll ask Matt Derrick about that. Chris Jones had some things to say on the stage that may have been alcohol-induced, but we'll ask Matt Derrick about what that means, and as this team moves forward and gets into the offseason. You got 1 week off next week, and that's it, because then it's the Combine, and it's then you got the franchise tag deadline on March 5th. We are less than a month away from free agency opening up. You play in the Super Bowl, man, there really isn't an offseason at that point. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, wrapping up this hour with Matt Derrick, presented by Cap One Lending. Chiefs Digest, and 41 is the Mike podcast. All right, how much weight do you put into, besides like 300 plus for Chris Jones, how much weight do you put into his words, not his body, but his words of, I'll be back next year, I ain't going anywhere, and next year, and the next year, and the next year? Was that alcohol-induced, or was he actually speaking from the heart, and that's what he really wants, depending on if the numbers match up? And as I've said, depending on if he's willing to meet the Chiefs at their number.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, it's what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Chiefs want that too. I mean, I'm sure Chiefs and Chris both want a pony. So I guess we'll see if that happens as well. Maybe that's what the Chiefs need. I mean, Chris will give you $24 million and a pony a year.
They could both afford it, by the way.
Yeah. Can we get a deal done?
Just ask my wife and her family how much a pony is, since she had one as a child. But go ahead.
Yeah, let's just say when they sit down to negotiations with the Katz brothers, if Brett just says, "Well, Chris said at the parade he wants to be here," so I'm sure they'll say we don't. Well,
so
we don't remember that. No.
What do you? I don't remember hearing
that.
So.
People say lots of things.
Yes.
So,
but also they work for Chris Jones,
right?
And if he really is that serious about it, that I want to return, and if this is the best contract I can get from the Chiefs, then take the best contract that the Chiefs can offer. Don't just say take whatever they'll give, and the Chiefs we'll give you $5 million a year. No, let's negotiate. And if you feel like the Chiefs are at their cap, this is our breaking off point. They got there with Tyrann Mathieu. They got there with Tyreek Hill. They got there with Trent Williams. They got there with Orlando Brown. They got there with Chris Jones last year. This is the point to where we are done when they get their sign.
Yeah, and I think Chris is going to be I'm losing my voice apparently.
You're fine.
Chris, I think, is going to be complicated because he's got a lot of priorities. I mean, yes, he would like to win. Yes, he'd like to stay in Kansas City. He would like to be, I think, closer to home in Miami. He would like to be the highest paid defensive tackle in the league. Can't have all those things.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to just decide what his priorities are and which ones he wants the most.
Well, while he's down in Miami, he can talk to Tyreek Hill about the extra money that he got from the Dolphins and the lighter hand that he's walking around with.
No state income tax, Jason.
That's true.
See,
so there is a lot more money there, but Tyreek has a lighter hand and free fingers.
That is true.
Not 3.
No.
Free. Chris Jones only has 2 free. Well, he's married, so Chris Jones only has 1 finger.
I was going to say he's got 5 more on the other hand.
He's only got... There you go. Matt, you're the man. Matt Tate next.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thank you to Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest. 41 is the Mike podcast. Go check that out. Fantastic podcast with Nick Jacobs. He works at 41, which is a crazy tie-in to the 41 is the Mike podcast. Which came first? 41 is the Mike podcast and then Nick Jacobs going and working at 41, or him working at KSHB 41 and then they called it 41 is the Mike podcast? I'm not sure. I can't figure it out. It is a question that will go on for ages. That's one of those great unanswerable questions, but thank you to Matt Derrick joining us right now. Let's talk with yet another Matt. It's a Matt day. It's a Matt Friday. Matt Tate, R1S1, and Perpetual Sports Network covering the Kansas Jayhawks. When we have Matt Tate on, that's presented by 23rd Street Brewery. Matt, welcome into the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I'm glad to hear all of you guys are as well. Josh told me everybody's all right, so good to hear. Pretty scary stuff the other day, but glad to hear you guys are all right, and we'll move forward, man. But thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on. You know that when we anytime we have you on, we appreciate that. Let's start with this. This is a game this weekend against Oklahoma. It's on the road. Is it as easy as saying it's the Big 12 and it's going to happen with the KU road struggles? Is there something more to that you can look at and tie into as to why there's been such a feeling of a Jekyll and Hyde of playing in Allen Fieldhouse versus leaving Lawrence?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I don't think anybody should view that as an excuse. Like, I guess maybe it is, but the Big 12 is really good, and these teams can beat any of these teams any given night. We know that. We've seen that at the top of the league and at the bottom of the league, really. So I think that's fair. I think it's a real thing. But the other thing that's so striking is a couple weeks ago, I think it was, Self was asked, why is it so tough on the road this year? And I thought his answer was great. He said, it's tough on the road every year.
Every year, yeah.
We've just been very fortunate. And part of that is the personnel. Part of that is the experience. Part of that is the rosters that they've had. Part of that's him, of course. But, I think that was a cool moment to put the whole thing in perspective, because it is sort of a birthright for KU fans to feel like, well, we're going to obviously win all our home games in league, and then we're going to go win more games on the road in league than we lose, and then we're going to be champs. And that's just how it goes. So, that's not how it goes, right? And I thought that was interesting. Again, I don't think it was Self making an excuse. I think it was just the fact that he's seen it from that perspective his whole career, and he's reminding people we've been very good on the road because we've been locked in and dialed in and very, very fortunate and had some great players. But that hasn't been easy. It's not like we've gone on these road trips and just walked through it, any of these games. So I think that the Jekyll and Hyde nature of it is probably partly the personnel. As good as DeJuan Harris and KJ Adams and even Kevin McCullough are and have been in this conference, they're all still in new roles for this team, right? Like Kevin's kind of a go-to scorer. He's never been that. At Texas Tech he wasn't that, and last year he wasn't that at KU. So even though he's older and a veteran, he's doing this for the first time. And, of course, he hasn't played in a couple of those games. So that's part of it. And then, DeJuan's not a scorer. He can score, but he's not a – KJ, like a couple of now. I mean, these more important roles as an upperclassman. So I just think it's part of it is just the whole concept of how the pieces fit, and for that to be the case on February 15th is crazy. I mean, that's just not something we see. But if nothing else, that's probably the reminder of, again, how good and how much good fortune this program has had over the years. This is very rare, and they're going through it right now. But, they're also, 19-6, and if that's going through it, that's probably okay by most standards. So it's going to be a really interesting weekend. It's going to be a really interesting final 6 games here because, anything's on the table. I mean, if they win out, they could challenge for the league title still. I don't know that they will do that, or even if they do, if that would be enough. But if they do, it could be in the cards. And, if they go 500 and they lose 3 on the road and win 3 at home, we could be looking at Kansas as a 4, 5, 6, 7 seed in the conference tournament, which would be, you want to talk about panic.
Yeah.
I think people would really freak out then, even though they shouldn't, right? Even though, and Self kind of resigned himself to the fact, to this fact a while ago this season, I think. It really isn't about the conference tournament. It really isn't about the conference race. Like, we just want to keep getting better. And I think he's got a point there, and it's just not the way Kansas has always done it. You know, they've focused so much on that Big 12 race, and for good reason, that it's weird for them to be looking at, like, let's just peak at the right time. You know, I think the fan base especially, and even within the program, they expect their peak to be a season-long thing. So this has definitely been different, but it's going to be an interesting 6 games to close it out here.
But that hasn't really been the case, even when you're saying, you know, the peak is the entire season. We know that. And the Jayhawk basketball team, and Bill Self knows that, right? I mean, they've had their struggles. I mean, the last time when they won the national championship most recently, I mean, the big story throughout the season was Remy Martin and what was going on behind the scenes, and they can't get him to sort of fit in, and what's the rotation, and all it did was end up in the NCAA tournament where they win a championship in large part because Remy Martin sort of turned it on and burst onto the scene.
Yeah, great point.
I mean, it's just like there have been things. It always seems to be first world problems, right? With KU, and this one is,
for sure.
You know, the first world problem is, you know, they can beat Baylor and Houston at home, but they are struggling on the road and figuring out sort of the rotation and getting more from the bench, but also, you know, the health is a big issue. And after this Oklahoma game, so K-State and Mizzou, the local teams, have this week off, no midweek game for them. And next week will be KU's no midweek game and have that week off. How beneficial do you think that will be after they leave Norman on Saturday, that they don't have to worry about another game until a week from Saturday?
Yeah, I think they need it. Obviously, they're banged up. I'm sure most teams are. So, again, you hate to talk about that as any kind of excuse. But, you know, when you don't have any depth and you're playing 5 guys that you really trust, if 3 of them are dealing with injuries, it makes it harder. So they could use the rest for sure to get healthy, but also the mental part of it. I mean, this has been, you know, that's a lot on their shoulders. These guys are carrying a lot of weight, and they love it. And that's why they come to Kansas, and they believe that they can deliver and all of those things. But it doesn't mean it's easy, and it doesn't mean it can't exhaust you. And I think those guys are exhausted right now. You keep hearing them talk about tired. I think it's tired mentally as much as it is physically. So comes at a really good time. And you know, look, like this weekend, this Oklahoma game is so massive because they get their next 2 at home. And if they can win in Norman, it gives you that boost of, okay, hey, we just beat a top 25 team on the road, and a good team at that. And, you know, the roads where they've struggled. So this could be a really big lift just in and of itself. But then you look at coming back home for 2, Texas the following Saturday, and then I think it's BYU after that. And all of a sudden you could have a nice little 3-game winning streak. And you know, all the struggles that they've had the last couple weeks could be all but forgotten. And so, you know, you don't get that 3-game winning streak. You don't get that confidence. You don't get that juice of addressing your problems and, you know, sort of overcoming them, right, without this win tomorrow. And so I think, you know, you could probably do this 5-6 times in the Big 12 with every team, but I think that makes this Saturday's game at OU maybe the biggest game of the year. It just comes at a time where they could really use it for a lot of reasons, and it could really be a springboard to putting them back on the path that they believe they should be on. And look, I think they still can be on that path. I mean, their starting 5, when they're healthy, it's as good as anybody's out there, and that's all you need in March. So, you know, these 6 games are going to be interesting, but obviously whatever comes after that is too, because I asked Self yesterday, you know, he always talks, you've heard this, he always talks every year about there's that one moment where a team really becomes a team. Sometimes it's adversity, sometimes it's winning on the road, sometimes it's winning without a starter, whatever it is. You know, sometimes it's not even a game thing. It's just maybe something happened in practice. You know, guys get a little heated and then they come together, whatever it is. And most teams have that, I think. But he really emphasizes that. He talks about that every year. And usually it's, you know, sometime in January or early February. I asked him yesterday about that. Have you had that moment yet? And he said, no, we haven't. And he said, it'll come. You know, Self, he's as confident as they come. So he said, it'll come. But, you know, we haven't had it yet, and we're still looking for that. And then I followed up and said, is there a timeline on that? You know, do you need it by, next week, or how does that work? And he said, well, you look at UConn, I don't think they had a timeline on theirs last year, and they didn't really come together until the NCAA tournament. So I kind of thought there probably was a timeline, but when he put it in that perspective, he even went back to NC State in '83, I think, and said they almost, didn't make the tournament and then got in and won the whole thing in a Cinderella fashion. So there's a lot of examples, I'm sure, but I when I asked the question, I did think there probably was some kind of a timeline on it, and his answer made me think, yeah, no, there really isn't. You just have to find it at some point. And your point about the 22 team, I mean, the Remy Martin equation was, or part of the equation was not a factor at all until it counted. And so that kind of answers that question as well. That proves a little bit right here at home that even Kansas has had a moment where it didn't fully click until it mattered, and then it did, and boy, it looked good when it did. So could this be that team? Maybe, because they've had their chances at adversity. They've had opportunities to go win big games on the road or win without starters or whatever it is, and they haven't taken those as that moment yet. So if it is coming, it'll be interesting to see when it is. And based on Self and his track record in this program, you probably think he's right. It probably is coming.
Visiting with Matt Tate, R1S1 Sports, Perpetual Sports Network is our guest, presented by 23rd Street Brewery. Bill Self sounded optimistic that Kevin McCullough will play tomorrow against Oklahoma. Same thing with McDowell, that he sounded optimistic and certainly seemed like not even optimistic that, Jamar, he's going to play tomorrow. But Kevin McCullough not playing the last couple of games. I did wonder, Matt, if I know that, Oklahoma's a big game, and you don't want to just simply hold somebody out for the sake of holding him out. If he's good to go, then play him. But I did wonder if it would come to, is he fully 100% yet? And if not, and that's one of those relative terms, and if not, do you hold him out for one more game, and then you got the full week off to hopefully that bone bruise healing even more? But Bill Self saying he practiced Wednesday, and they'll see how it continues to go this week and on Friday as well, which is now today. But he's optimistic he'll play tomorrow. Would you be surprised or expecting to see him out there tomorrow? And what do you make of even one more game? What it would be for him missing Oklahoma and maybe being a little more healthy for the stretch run?
Yeah, I thought a lot about that earlier in the week, and I kind of thought that the quote unquote right move would maybe be to hold him out. But then when I looked at it a little bit more, obviously we heard the update from Self yesterday, so that's part of it. Mm-hmm. But when I heard the update a little bit, when I thought about it a little bit more and realized again what I just talked about, the magnitude of how important this game could be, I think you need him. I think if he can go, you take what you can get from him. And I think the key will be, right, like, can he play without coming away from that game feeling like, well, I made it, but I'm not any better off. Like, now it hurts again. And that's, that's the big question. Could you maybe play him 25 minutes and get something and give him a chance to get back out there and then, get a quality 25 minutes from him, but not tax him to the point where he wakes up on Sunday and he's like, crap, this is right where I was, Now, even if that's the case, as you mentioned, they do have the full week off, so he could get some more rest. But you just feel like then you're setting the stage for okay, this is how it's going to go. You can find a way to get up to play, and then every time you do, it comes right back down, and you're hurting again, and you're never going to feel like you can string a few games in a row together. So that's going to be a major question that they still have to answer. Kevin, he's certainly competitive and wants to be out there, especially because this is it for him. He's down to his final 6 regular season games as a college basketball player, and then from there it's do or die after that. So, I know he wants to be out there, and he's had a great year. I think he's been inefficient in a lot of ways after a really good start, but I think he's still trying to show people what he is and how he can be, and attract the eye of some scouts. And no better way to do that than to finish strong down the stretch and put your team in position to be a 1 or a 2 seed or win the Big 12 or whatever he's capable of leading them to still. But I do think this team's so much more than him, and it's not, let's get on Kevin's shoulders kind of the way people have seen teams in the past get on Jalen Wilson's shoulders or Ochai's shoulders at times. I don't think that's Kevin McCullough or his game. So I think that the best they've played this year has been when, and I wrote about this a few weeks ago, but McCullough took, like, I think 8 shots in that Houston game. I think he was 7 for 8. And I think nobody would argue that was the best they looked all year. I mean, other times we've seen him go 5 for 18, 6 for 17, 4 for 17, 6 for 18. I mean, it's just, you know, you don't want to knock him because a lot of those times he's trying to make a play and he's being thrown the ball with 6 on the shot clock and somebody's saying, go do it. And, you know, that puts him in a really hard spot. But I think the high volume of shots and how it relates to his efficiency mark, I think that's real. I think that's a significant thing. And I think that, you know, if you could pick the sweet spot, and you can't really do it because of the game flow, and it's hard to tell a guy to go into a game and, okay, you only shoot 10 times today. But I do think for Kevin it'd be, if you shoot, you know, in the 10 to 12 range, we're going to be a much better basketball team. And I think the numbers have shown that, and we've seen it with our eyes too. So, maybe that plays into that 25 minutes idea, right? Like, if he's only out there 25 minutes, he's probably not shooting 18, 20 times. But maybe he shoots 10 in those minutes, and it's highly efficient, and it gives him something, but it also doesn't stress him to the point where he's, you know, worse for wear. So I don't know. I mean, nothing would surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if he plays all 40. It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't play, and anything in between, but it's obvious they need him back as soon as they can get him back.
It's a different, scenario and situation than what I'm going to bring up here, and I know it's not necessarily apples and apples, but just from the health perspective of what's more important heading into the postseason, because there are still games to win, there's still seeding to be able to gain throughout this season, as opposed to, you know, the last game of the season for the Chiefs, they already had their 3 seed locked up. They couldn't get the 2 seed. They couldn't be the 4 seed. They were the 3 seed. Travis Kelce had 16 yards to get to 1,000, and he sat out because he wanted to be healthy, and he looked completely different by missing that one particular game. And the conversation around here, Matt, was what's more important for this Chiefs team, to get the 2 seed and get a home game, or to be playing better football towards the end of the season going into the playoffs. And as we found out, the 1, 2, 3 seed didn't matter because they went on the road and won because they were playing really good football at the time. And it's kind of like what we talked about, you know, when you were discussing the, you know, what they look like in February and can they figure things out. And, you know, this late in the season, it's like, well, the Chiefs figured something out the, second to last game of the season, and then they turned it on. Right. And I've just wondered, you know, this week especially with McCullough missing Saturday and Monday, that, you know, what's the more important part of, you know, his health and seeing if he can be, you know, 100% with the bone bruise, and getting him back late in the season, even if it means a 5 seed or a 6 seed as opposed to like a 4 or something like that. Like if they go to Oklahoma and lose by 15, but Kevin McCullough played 30 minutes and doesn't feel great, then what did you really gain, right? You still lost that particular game. You know, what's the more important part? And Bill Self will figure all of that out. You have trust in him because he's won multiple national championships. But I think that's part of the difficult aspect of it, because if Bill Self had a crystal ball and said, look, Kevin McCullough plays 30 minutes and our team lost by 12, 13 points, boy, I'd like to give him that extra day off and rest. But going to Oklahoma matters. Going to Oklahoma and winning that game would be big for the Big 12, and it would be big for, you know, seeding purposes as opposed to losing that game, getting a week off. So these are the things that a coach has to juggle, but KU being in a different mindset than almost, you know, any other program out there, not everyone, but almost any other program, of whatever they're doing in February is always with the eye towards middle March.
Yeah, no, I think you have a great point there. I mean, and look, like, Self's very in tune with what's happening down the road in Kansas City with the Chiefs, and he's a fan, and he loves Andy Reid, and you know, it's 2 different sports, but it's still coaching and it's still being the CEO of a team and figuring it out as you go. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he looked at that as an example of, well, you know, there's another instance where you know, they didn't look good at all when they were losing to the Raiders and whoever else they were losing to late in the season. But it didn't matter. They looked like the best team in football when they had to look like the best team in football, and we can still do that as a college basketball team. So I think there's definitely some, I don't know if you call it, you know, motivation or inspiration or whatever the word is for that, but I think there's definitely some of that because of the proximity of the 2 programs. And I know KJ Adams, even though he's an Austin, Texas kid, he's a huge Chiefs fan, and you know, it'd be hard for these guys not to be. I think not growing up here, but living here just seeing what's happening with that franchise over the last several years that they've been here at KU. So, even if it's subconscious, it probably is playing some kind of role in their minds because, I don't know. I mean, I listened to your show and you guys were talking plenty about, I don't know if this is the year,
we weren't. What are you talking about, Matt? We never doubted him for a second.
Sorry. But, it was always with the caveat of they have Mahomes, they have a chance. It's always that, and that's kind of the Bill Self part of this, right? And so, but it was very real, and it looked that way. And then, snap your fingers, and it didn't look that way. I mean, it looked like the same old. Kansas City's rolling, and here they go. They're unbeatable. And so I think that's, that's sports, and that's real, and that's a thing that absolutely could benefit Kansas. I think they'll tap into that a little bit. I think it'll be really interesting to see how much motivating and fueling these guys and providing drive for them Bill Self has to do, because that Houston game was a great example of that. And I think it was Parker Brown. I talked to him after that game, and he said in the locker room before the game, coach was like, these are the best games in the world to coach because I don't have to do anything. Like, my guys are up for these games. Right. I don't have to motivate them. I don't have to give a speech. I don't have to do anything like that because they're ready and they know what this game means. And I think that's what happens when you get to March, right? Like, they know what that means. They know the score. And so if you can just navigate these next few weeks, maybe it does flip. Maybe the switch comes on and they're fine. And again, with their talent and that roster and that lineup, that's certainly not a crazy thing to think about or talk about. But, they have to get there without being emotionally damaged and mentally exhausted. And I think that's the big question now. Can they surf these waters over the next few weeks where they still feel enough confidence and feel good about themselves to the point where when that switch is there, they can reach it and they can flip it, and now we go. So, that's why these games and everything are so important along the way. But I do think you're right. I mean, if he knew they were going to lose by double digits and McCullough would play 30 minutes, I think he'd probably sit him. I mean, but, nobody knows that. And who knows? I mean, I thought with 4 games left, that would be going into Monday at Texas Tech, 4 road games, that is. I just had a feeling that they were going to win 2 of them. And so now they got to get 2 of the last 3 for me to be right. And I'm certainly wrong plenty, but there's still something about it. I mean, I just don't see Kansas going 1-8 on the road. I mean, as good as the conference is, as challenged as this Kansas roster is, I mean, 1-8, man, that's crazy, right? Like 3-6 will be a little bit crazy. But that looks a heck of a lot better than 1-8. So I just don't see 1-8, and I could be dead wrong, but I'm putting a lot of faith in those guys figuring it out because I've seen it 100 times in a row. So we'll see. It'll be really interesting.
We talked with Todd Leabo earlier today, the Oklahoma Sooner, Todd Leabo, and he said, I want you to ask Matt Tate who had a worse midweek game or a middle of the week game this week. Was it Oklahoma losing by 17 to Baylor or KU losing by 29 to Tech? He's like, that's all I want to know. Who was worse this week? He's also, a self-deprecating Oklahoma fan as they get ready to play this weekend. So he's like, yeah, that's all I want to know. Who was worse this week? Was it Oklahoma or KU?
Good. Well, when you said Todd Leabo had something to ask me, I thought he was going to ask you to ask me about my beloved Broncos. So I'm glad we're not going there.
No.
We don't want to talk about that. There's really not much to talk about.
No. I'll give you a repreve from that because we've mentioned the Chiefs a couple of times already. So, we'll give you a reprieve from that.
I even sounded like a decent guy when I mentioned it, didn't I? That was great.
That's exactly right.
No, I think it was Kansas, man. I mean, I think I think they went down there even without Kevin and believed they could win that game. And then to just get the doors blown off like that, it was ugly. You saw it. And I think that the other part of that is when your coach gets ejected, I don't know. That's just sort of, I don't want to call it rock bottom, but I feel like, I wrote this too. I don't think that Self did that as a motivational tool. He wasn't like, let me see if I can get a tee to get the boys fired up. There's nothing like that. That game was over, and they were dead in the water when he got tossed. And so I think, though, when you get beat, as bad as you've been beat and it's on the road, and the other team's laughing in your face, and they're putting a highlight reel together down the final 5 minutes, and you're having to just sit there and wear it. And then your coach gets tossed out. I mean, it's sort of that, man, the wheels are falling off here. What is happening? You know, and again, that's not a position that Kansas is used to being in at all. So I didn't see the OU Baylor game. Obviously, that's a pretty significant score too. But by the mere fact that this was 29 points, man. I mean, I was at the USC game in Indy in the tournament when they got beat 34. And this didn't feel quite like that, but it would have if it was at USC, right? Like the only difference was it was a neutral site. But when you add to the fact that this was, you know, a whipping like KU never suffers, and it was on someone's home floor, who, by the way, you've seen it on TV and whatnot. If you haven't been there, Texas Tech student section and home atmosphere is, I mean, I've said this for a few years now, but it's as good as it is. There is. I mean, they are fired up, and they bring it, and they are engaged the whole game. So, you know, that sucks. That sucks to have to sit through, especially when the last 10 minutes of the game, you know, it's over. And the fans know it's over, too, and they're just laughing at you. So I don't know if that's how it was at Baylor or not for that OU game. I don't know if that's what OU had to go through, too. But I would say that nobody had a worse week than Kansas. Even the K-State loss on Monday night before that, I don't think was quite as bad because, A, they should have won the game. B, they had chances to win the game. And C, you know, there's that idea of, well, we know what Grambling is going to be like. They get fired up for us. It's going to be X, Y, and Z, and it was. And so, you know, I'm not saying they didn't expect Texas Tech to be crazy, but it was a different kind of crazy, man. I mean, they were, like I said, it was like they were laughing at Kansas, and they should have been. They were kicking their butt. So that's tough. That's a hard one to wear. So that, Mr. Leabo, would be my answer.
Matt Tate from R1S1, the Perpetual Sports Network, presented by 23rd Street Brewery. Matt, you're the man. Appreciate the time today, sir. Safe travels to Norman and back, and we will talk soon, man. Appreciate it as always.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Good to catch up, and we'll talk soon for sure. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too, man. There's Matt Tate. Great stuff from him as KU gets ready for a road trip. They have struggled on the road, certainly. Bill Self optimistic that Kevin McCullough will play tomorrow, and we'll see how much of a difference that can make. Certainly, he could have made a difference on Monday night. I don't think he makes a 29-point difference on Monday night against Texas Tech. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. There's updated information in relation to the shooting at the rally on Wednesday and the suspects in custody. And we'll also talk to one of the heroes from that tragic day on Wednesday. And then Kendall Gammon will be our guest coming up at 1:20. We'll continue with more Zone right after this. All right, hanging out here on this Friday edition of The Zone. Jason Anderson with you, Dylan Michaels, heading up until 2 o'clock. We will talk with Kendall Gammon coming up about an hour from now. A little less than an hour from now. We'll talk with Chastity Logston, who was one of the heroes at the parade on Wednesday, seen administering CPR to one of the victims as a lot of videos that are coming out, as so many things that were happening at the parade. Someone who is an ER nurse, as she is, then springing into action and going and helping. And there are so many stories of that have come to light. We heard Trey Smith on Good Morning America yesterday that he was talking about giving the WWE belt to one of the kids who, was very hysterical and inconsolable with his dad and just scared. And Trey Smith tells him, man, nothing's going to hurt you. Nothing's going to hurt you. I got you. You're the champ. We hear the story of, if you haven't heard, one of the moms thanking Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who grabbed her son and shielded him when the shooting started. Instinctually, Clyde, trying to find, or not even trying to find, just somebody near him, that was his instinct to do that. We hear the stories of Andy Reid trying to help, and Blaine Gabbert and James Winchester, and on and on and on. Those different stories coming out today. There's pictures of some of the kids at Children's Mercy with Patrick Mahomes and Brittany, that they went to Children's Mercy and visited some of the victims there of the shooting. And by the way, before people get cynical, the picture is put out by the kids' families, not by Patrick or Brittany, because I'm tired of all the cynical people right now that's going on in our lives. And I should ignore them. I get it. I should totally ignore them. And that's sort of the cesspool that is social media at times. But it does make it hard to ignore them. And maybe that's my own issue in seeing those and ignoring some of the great comments and thinking, why are you the way that you are? But I'm glad there are a lot of people that are the way that they are.
It's
around
a miserable
Kansas City.
existence.
It must be.
Sure.
It must be.
Can't be fun at all.
It must be a miserable existence to see Taylor Swift donate $100,000 and say, why didn't she donate more? To see that Taylor Swift donated $100,000 to the GoFundMe and say, well, why did she put her name on it?
It's truly an example that no matter how good someone can be, there will always be a 5% to less of the population that just hates it for some reason.
There will always be just people that just suck.
Yep.
Just like, she didn't have to donate anything, right? And then the TMZ story that came out last night of the guys, or yesterday, the guys going and, quote, partying on Wednesday night afterwards. And it's interesting when there's more reporting going on and you hear from the staff that was there that said, actually, it wasn't a party. It was a group of friends that got together for dinner. It was supposed to be much bigger, but the players then scaled it down because of the events. And it was players that sort of came together, and they did a great, one of the staff members said they did a great job of just cheering up the staff members. And, sometimes when you suffer trauma, you're around people that are closest to you. My family ordered pizza on Wednesday night. Should we not have done that? Should people not have eaten? Like, maybe one of the best things you can do is be around people that you love and talk through it and talk about it. But it's how it's phrased of they went and threw a party as if there was some celebration for what happened, as opposed to then the reporting comes out and the real story comes out of actually that was scaled down. It was supposed to be that. But then it was then a select few players and their wives that had dinner there. And look, they were smiling in a picture with the staff members. Oh, look, Travis Kelce's smiling in a picture with a police officer. Is he supposed to tell the police? No. The work that you guys did today, I won't take a selfie with you. No. Too bad. I'm not going to take a selfie because somebody might think that I'm just being callous about what took place today because I'm smiling in a selfie with you, officer, that put your life on the line on a daily basis, and the other officers that sprung into action like they did. Now, the staff here at Grand Flu, no, we're not going to take a picture with you. Sorry, not going to happen. Nope, because that might get out, and we might be smiling, and people might think that we don't care about them because we're actually have smiles on our face, and we're trying to cheer up other people. There are a lot of things that can happen all in once, and going to the hospital with Patrick and Brittany, they don't have to do that. Taylor Swift doesn't have to donate.
When the only thing you need is a working email to put your opinion out,
that's right.
There's just going to be a ton of bad ones.
There are. and I need to ignore them, and I know that. That's an issue that I have, and I've admitted that before. I've talked about that before. It is definitely something that I need to work on, because there can be 99 positive things and the one negative thing that people say. It's like, well, why did you say that? But
it's not your fault,
It is absolutely. Will you blame my mom?
No, I'm blaming these idiots. These idiots just need to go away.
Dylan says, thanks, Mom. Jason, it's not your fault, okay? I blame your parents. It's their fault that you're focusing on those things. On a serious note, there is an update as of about, I think, 30 minutes ago. This coming from the 16th Judicial Circuit Court of Missouri, Jackson County Family Court Division. 2 juveniles were charged on Thursday, February 15, 2024, by the Office of the Juvenile Officer related to the incident at the Chiefs rally on February 14, 2024. The juveniles are currently detained in secure detention at the Juvenile Detention Center on gun-related and resisting arrest charges. It is anticipated that additional charges are expected in the future as the investigation by the KCPD continues. Pursuant to Missouri law, hearings are not open to the public as this alleged offense involves juveniles. This is the extent of the information that the Office of the Juvenile Officer can release at this time. Charges are brought against the 2 individuals, juveniles, that were detained. As yesterday, Chief Stacey Graves said that they are anticipating charges. They have 24 hours to detain the individuals before they must be charged. There is an anticipation. They are working closely with the prosecutor's office to do that, and the prosecutor's office working closely with the Jackson County Family Court Division because of the juvenile aspect of this. Charges are brought of gun-related charges and resisting arrest. It is anticipated additional charges are expected there. There's a lot of other things that will take place along the way as the story continues to develop. We will take a timeout. We'll come back. We will continue rolling. And we'll be joined by Chastity Logston, who played a role on Wednesday in being heroic and stepping up. And these stories are the things that continue to give you hope in the world and to keep you moving forward when there are certainly some things that would keep you just looking back constantly. So we'll take a time out. We will talk with Chastity Logston coming up next. in the show that we've been discussing some sports and moving forward a little bit while also still discussing the events of Wednesday. You know, yesterday's show was specifically and strictly about those things that took place and our experiences and things like that. And joining us now, very pleased to be joined by Chastity Logston, who was there present at the parade on Wednesday and was there near the stage when everything happened and then sprung into action like someone who is trained, I guess, in that or just instinctually. But first of all, Chastity, thank you for joining us. I'm assuming the last couple of days have been crazy for you. I hope that you have made it back safe and trying to get a little bit of rest and maybe process some of the things yourself.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I made it back home safe at like 3 a.m. So, like 2 a.m. Kansas time or Missouri time, whatever. Yeah. So, like, I wasn't really I didn't go by the parade area. I was more by, like, the parking garage area on that side of Union Station because we had tried to go up to the front of the station or, like, by Union Station to be able to see closer because we got there at, like, 6 o'clock, but, I mean, we left Salina at, like, I think it was, like, like 3 o'clock in the morning or something. Wow. So we had, like, pulled into the west side parking lot or parking garage around, I think it was, like, 5:57, my clock said in my car.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, well, this is great because then, like, the kids can just sleep, you know, and then we can just go find a place. Well, yeah, no, like, people were, like, standing there. I'm not moving. I'm not doing any of this, whatever. And I'm like, whatever. Let's just go back by the grass and we'll lay a blanket down and put some chairs down. And when they come up on the stage, we'll, like, watch them or whatever. And so we were just, like, sitting there, and then, like, literally, it was probably around 1:45, like, Ladarius Need had, like, just gotten done talking, and I remember, like, Chris Jones got done talking, and, I mean, I've loved the Chiefs my whole life. Like, I can remember being 5 years old, watching Joe Montana and Marcus Allen, like, all the bad years. Like, so this year, like, my oldest son is 5, and next year he'll be going into kindergarten. And I had said when we beat the Ravens, and my husband's, like, a newly profound, because he loves Lamar Jackson, being from Louisville. And so, anyways, I said if we beat the Ravens, I was like, I'm going to that parade because I don't know when I'm going to be able to come back for another one since my kids are going to be in school, you know?
Yeah.
So I had, like, made the decision, and I was, like, literally I drove all night on Monday, was, like, slept a little bit with my family, got up, went to the parade, and then we were just, like, sitting there or whatever. Well, I was, like, standing closer to the stage, but my mom and my kids were tired, and my nieces were tired, so they were, like, sitting there on the blanket and stuff and just having fun. Well, he had Ladarius or somebody had, like, just gotten done and speaking, and I was like, man, I'm tired. I think I'm going to go ask my mom if she's ready to, like, load up and go, like, and we can walk to the car. And so I, like, went over to my mom. I'm like, are you ready to go, Mom? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, I think, yeah, if you are, I don't care. And I was like, okay. So I was, like, picking up the blanket and the lawn chairs and stuff, and then, like, you just hear pop, 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 pop. And, like, some people were like, oh, it's, like, fireworks because it was the end of, like, the celebration or whatever. And so everybody was like, it's just fireworks. Well, then, no, like, literally 2 seconds later, people are like, get down, get down, get down, get down. And I was standing on the west side by, I guess, I wish I could, like, explain it to you. Okay, so there's the parking garage on the west side, and then you know where those flagpoles are that are, like, in the grassy area, like there's two sets of flagpoles. There's the ones on my right side, but on the left side of Union Station, and then there's the other three sets. Well, we were sitting like really close to that flagpole, those flagpoles that were on my left, my left, Union Station's right. And I'm like, I had this chair in my hand and like this lawn chair, and I had the bag, and I was like putting the lawn chair in that, and I just like then the shots like rang out or whatever. And I mean, it was literally moments. Like when I tell you, like, it was moments. Like, I don't even know, like the scene wasn't even clear, and people were just running for their lives because they were like still saying that somebody was like had a gun or was running. And I just seen a guy laying there and some woman like, and I like was walking, like I seen it, and I dropped the lawn chair bag, and I said, here, I gave it to my niece who's 14, and I said, here, take this. And I started walking over by him, and my mom's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm like, I was like telling her to like just go. Like, and I was trying to tell my niece, my oldest niece, like take them to the parking garage. I know where we parked. Just get to the parking garage. But my mom would not leave like me because she just saw me going over there. And I didn't know if like bullets were still being shot or what. And so I literally like went over to him and her, and she was like holding his head. And I was like, where did he get shot? And she said, in the head. And I was like, does he have a pulse? And she said, I don't know. So I like knelt down, and I didn't feel a pulse. So I immediately started compressions. And then all I really remember is like this person coming and saying like, I'm a medic. And I was like, I'm a nurse, but my family's waiting, so you go ahead and do your thing. And I like got up, and I like I just remember like just walking, just trying to get my family to the parking garage so that we could like decompress.
You talked about like heading that way, and your mom asking you what are you doing? Is that sort of maybe the experience dealing with trauma to not necessarily think about your safety, because you said you didn't know at that point if bullets were still flying.
I didn't know if the scene was safe. Like I literally was like.
But it did. But you didn't.
I was kind of quiet.
Did that like come into your mind? Just like, I just need to go over here, whether it's safe or not. I see somebody laying there, and this is what I do in my life.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. Like I was like other people have asked me like, what did he look like and what did she look like? And honestly, that's all blur. Yeah. I can't really. I remember seeing the red medic bag when the medic said, I'm a medic. And I said, I'm a nurse, but my family's waiting on me, so, like, I need to go. And I don't really know. Like, it was literally, like, 25, 50 feet from where we were at.
Is that just, I mean, the instincts to go to the commotion? Has that, I mean, I don't know.
It's never ever happened to me before. Other people have asked me that. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I just. Did
you know that was going to be your like, if people like, well, if I was there, I wonder what I would do. Have you ever thought that to yourself and just like, I wonder what I would do? Or is that in your mind of, well, I wonder what I would do? No, I know what I would do, because that's simply, if you're an ER nurse, there's something in you that wants to do that anyway, that wants to help.
Right. I don't think that, like, I ever would be like, oh, this is what I would do. Because honestly, I don't know if I would say that I knew. You know what I'm saying? Like, but something just came over me. I can't really explain it. I like stood there and looked, and honestly, it was like, oh my God, that's someone. If that makes any sense. I know that like it was quiet. You know, like I heard like all of those shots.
Did you know it was gunshots when you heard it, or did you think it was fireworks as well, like what some of the people thought?
At first I thought maybe it was like fireworks, but then I saw people ducking.
Yeah.
And like it just was like I don't even know how to explain. I don't even know how to explain how, like, how we realized that it was really gunshots. Like, I literally was like, and then like as I approached him, I did see like a gun laying there with what I presume was a clip. It looked like a Glock, but like I don't like a handgun, but I don't want to say any kind of, I don't know. I'm not like, I mean, I have no idea what type of gun it was. I don't know. You know, I just was like, you know.
Yeah.
I just, like, the last few days, like, all I've done is cry because I was like, I could have done so much more, you know, like, so much. I could have stayed there longer, but I also was concerned for my family's sake, and, like, I needed to get my little children, like, I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old,
Yeah.
and I just needed to get my children and my nieces safe and my mom safe, and I don't know, but I did hear that, like, they're saying that, like, they're thinking that all of the patients or victims, I guess I want to say, are probably going to make a full recovery. So
I was going to say, have you heard anything about or have any idea who this person was that you may have saved their lives by how quickly you sprung into action administering CPR?
I don't know who it was. I know what he was wearing. I have no idea. I don't know his name. I don't know anything like that. But
you said that you've been crying because you wish you could have done more.
Yeah.
I mean, you did a lot. I mean, you ran.
I know, and like all of my family members and like all my friends are like, you did everything you knew what to do, and I was like, yeah, but I felt like my compressions weren't strong enough. Like, I just was there until the medics got there, and I don't know. I guess I've replayed so many things over in my head the last few days that, like, I don't really know. I know that like people are like, oh, I know what I'd do in that situation. I don't think I can actually answer that answer, and I didn't even know that I was going to do it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have no idea how I would react. I mean, I don't know. My kid's there. If the fight or flight, if I would have just immediately, ran like everybody else. I'm not trained in the ER part of it. I'm not trained of dealing with trauma like you are. And you mentioned that you've been crying for different reasons. And one of the things that I was wondering as it relates to you personally, if, you're an ER nurse, you've seen some of these things before, you've seen trauma like that come into the hospital, that dealing with it or processing it different in your personal life, to see that and to help when that's going on, as opposed to, this is my work life, I'm walking into the hospital and I know these are things that are going to happen?
I mean, like, I try to keep both of my work life and my home life separate, if that makes any that makes any difference.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I try to not ever take my work home, but there was just something inside of me that was like, oh my God, he's laying on the ground, there's blood. Like, I don't know, maybe it was my like, I have training, like, I'm BLS certified, I'm PALS certified, I'm ACLS certified, I'm TNCC certified. And like, people have asked me, like, why were you so compelled to go over there? And I'm like, it's not that I was compelled to go over there. I just, in my heart of hearts, that's someone, and I would want the same thing for me if that happened to my loved one. I mean, ultimately, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. I mean, we've heard stories of heroism, and we've seen, different people stepping up and trying to do what they can. And certainly you are part of that. And I'm very glad that, one, you grew up a Chiefs fan. And
oh yeah. I mean, Like, I've been through the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
I remember when we went 2-14.
Right.
I mean, I live in Salina. I was born and raised in Salina, Kansas, but let me tell you, that makes no difference. We would make the drive every weekend.
Wow.
We were season ticket holders for a while, and
it's cool that you get to pass that down to your kids and get to pass that down to your kids and not the Ravens part of it. So that's good too.
Yeah.
In a non-serious
So that's
moment.
what I was trying to do,
Yes.
you know, by going to the parade, like showing them like, wow, you know, like
This
forever.
This is what it's like to root for a winner, you know?
Yeah, like forever I've waited for, you know, like
Yeah.
them to be good. You know, like I remember Derek Thomas, Neil Smith. I remember Elvis Gerback. I remember Rich Gannon. And I was so angry when, like, we didn't keep Rich Gannon and he went to the Raiders.
I know, yeah.
And like, I could go on and on, but like, and you won't find a more diehard Chiefs fan. Like anybody that personally knows me, they know, like I live, breathe, and it's Chiefs football, KU basketball, and Royals baseball. I mean, like, and anytime I see like somebody with a Chiefs jersey on, I'm like, go Chiefs! Like even around here, and like people that I work with in the ER, they're like. The other day, I seen somebody walking down, like, one of our halls, and he had a Chiefs hoodie on. I was like, go Chiefs! And he's like, yeah. And my friend was with me, and he's like, dude, you're going to make me love the Chiefs. And I was like,
good.
Well, yeah,
that's the plan.
point.
Yeah,
Like,
that's exactly right. That's the point. Yes,
that's the point.
See, I don't get the fun looks when I walk around Louisville with Chiefs gear on. I don't get those. I get the glares. You know, I get those things.
Well, I mean, lately I've been getting those too.
Yeah.
Like, because I wear it faithfully. I mean, I have friends. When we won the Super Bowl, I have friends that were texting me from college. And I was like, she lives in California. She's like, congratulations. And I was like, you out of everybody know how diehard I was. And she's like, oh, I know. Since I met you in 2007, you have loved that team forever. And I was like, I know. And I just never in a million years thought bringing my children back so that they could see the love that I've loved forever, something like this would ever happen.
Yeah, I think everybody's sort of in that boat. And I'll say this, we all appreciate the fact that you were there and having whatever was inside of you to go and spring into action. And, you know, there is one fatality, and that is awful, and it's terrible, and it's sad, and we've been thinking about her family. But you might have saved somebody else's life if you did not spring into action, and certainly we appreciate all the heroics of that day and you being a part of that as well. And Chastity, I'm glad that you got back home. Hopefully that you can get some rest and continue to try to process it yourself. And we really appreciate you coming on and sort of giving your story. And
I get to go work tonight, so
wow. Oh, they don't give you the day off. You might have saved somebody's life. You get to take a couple days of personal days for yourself.
No, I don't work like that.
I know. Yes, it doesn't. Well, that's why you do what you do, Chastity. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And thank you for doing what you did on Wednesday as well.
Oh no, I mean I would do it for anybody. Life is short.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate that.
All right.
Absolutely. There's Chastity Logston. She was there at the parade on Wednesday. There's so many different videos that are going around, and one of those social media videos showed somebody springing into action and administering CPR and chest compressions, and that was Chastity Logston, growing up in Salina, Kansas, a diehard Chiefs fan. And how about that? Living in Louisville with a Ravens husband. There we go. See, and passing down the love of the Chiefs to her children. That's what it meant to come back here to Kansas City for the parade, so that she could pass down that Chiefs love to her children. And she needed to be there for a reason. We know that now. We'll take a time out. We will come back, and we will talk with Kendall Gammon on the other side of the break. More Zone next.
He has a different view of the world. Maybe because he spent 15 years looking at it upside down. He knows exactly how many times the ball will rotate on a long snap, and he'll juggle anything you throw at him. It's Kendall Gammon in the Zone. Brought to you by Crown Toyota and Crown Volkswagen. Recognized as the #1 place to buy a new or pre-owned vehicle. Visit crownautomotive.com to see the latest deals. Experience the Crown difference.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thank you again to Chastity Logston joining us. The GoFundMe is up there for Lisa Lopez Galvan and her family. We had mentioned earlier that Taylor Swift had donated $100,000 to the GoFundMe. Plenty of others, lots of others have donated. It's up over $270,000 now, which was a goal of $75,000, which is great to see so many people reaching out, so many people in the NFL community, whether it be reporters, national media donating. Gianluca Busio has donated $5,000. Sporting KC, former Sporting KC, player. So just a lot of it. I think he's living in Venezuela. I could be wrong. I apologize if I am. Could be living in another country. I'm not sure where he's at, but I know a great years with Sporting. But it's really cool to see so many people reach out and do so many things and kind things, and the Mahomes family with some of the victims at Children's Mercy as well. So those stories are certainly uplifting to try to help everybody recover from the tragedy. Joining us now is Kendall Gammon here in the Zone. Kendall, we certainly appreciate you joining us today. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Jason. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Let's. I am curious as to sort of your experience on Wednesday. We're getting so many firsthand experiences and things like that. I don't know if you were down there or watched it on TV or how you took in the parade on Wednesday.
I was up at the World War I Museum, so we were up high a little bit. I wasn't outside at the time. I was inside at the watch party they had, but some of the folks that were there came inside afterwards and mentioned that they had heard what they described as fireworks. I don't know if it was actual fireworks or whether it was the shots. I don't know. But we were up the hill a little bit, so we were probably a couple hundred yards from it down to our left, but never in danger. But all the same, surreal as you started to get information and understand what was going on, and just kind of the shock of no way something like this happens. I know you all have talked about it, exhaustively this week, but it's something that happens somewhere else, and all of a sudden it's happening where you're at, and it just becomes real.
Visiting with Kendall Gammon, our guest, is getting his thoughts on the parade on Wednesday, and there at the World War I Museum. Some of the stories we're hearing, and especially involving Chiefs players, and I know that they are humans like everybody else, but you see them on the field, and they are such a feel of a gladiator, and they're going down the parade route and on the buses and everything. But then when so much is happening at that point, we hear the story of Trey Smith. We hear the story of Andy Reid. We hear the story of Blaine Gabbert and James Winchester and other players, and we hear the story of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who the nearest child to him grabbed him and shielded him, and it's heartwarming to see that, to hear those things, because you never know how people are going to react, but there are some really good people on the Kansas City Chiefs, not just fantastic football players.
No, you're right, and really in general in the NFL, there's a lot of great guys.
Yeah.
The ones who are knuckleheads are the ones that sell papers and get clicks on the internet, and you hear about a lot. But that being said, the Chiefs are a special team not just because they won back-to-back championships, but when you do that, you generally have great leadership and you have great locker room, and that's exactly what you have with the Chiefs, which means you've got generally good people, and that's what you just talked about was all these guys, and I don't think people forget, but just to remind them, sometimes these guys have feelings too, and they're no different than anybody else, and when these things come up, they want to help in the same way that anybody else would.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the Super Bowl that took place, and we know why they were celebrating on Wednesday, but the Chiefs, they win the Super Bowl. They go back-to-back. They've won 3 out of 5. It's now a dynasty. You had the Chiefs winning 27-17. What did you see in the game, and sort of what did you take away as to how the Chiefs were able to accomplish, winning that game in overtime?
I thought they made the less mistakes. The turnover battle was good for them. I know there's a few snafus, but in general, they won the special teams. That's the big thing. That's the unsung thing that you don't hear about a lot. But I mean, to me, it still came down to the defense and how they played and just what they did. Kudos to Brock Purdy. I thought he played better than I thought he would.
Yeah,
I mean,
agreed.
You can't say anything bad about him. I mean, I had it described to me, which was, it's not so much that they made mistakes. The Chiefs outplayed them, and it was a great game for so many different reasons. And I don't know. I think this is also where your playoff experience, your Super Bowl experience comes in a little bit. And I just thought the Chiefs answered the bell when it was time.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny looking at the whiteboard that was on the Chiefs sideline that they were showing, and like the mic'd up and the turning point. There were different keys. I don't know what the letters meant on number 2 that was circled. I think it was like AKTA or something like that. And then the third one with a big circle was stay calm with all these exclamation points, right? Which is kind of ironic that stay calm with like 5 exclamation points is not really a calming feeling there, but it's sort of like that to be reinforced. And they were a team that, as they were struggling and they're down 10-0, down 10-3, down 10-6, they take the lead, they lose the lead, they tie it up, they then down by 3, then winning ultimately. Like, so many twists and turns of that second half, and it's not like the 49ers didn't, because the thing still goes to overtime. It's just that the Chiefs never stopped, and they kept fighting and kept fighting and kept fighting after falling behind 10-0, and then finding a way to get that win. But the experience, I think, is an interesting one, because whether we look at mistakes that were made or just big plays that were made, Patrick Mahomes put a cape on, and the defense continued to do what they did. And, the fourth quarter and overtime belonged to the Chiefs.
It did. But thinking back more, also, the first half, the fact that San Francisco's only up by a touchdown when the Chiefs did absolutely nothing in the first half, in my opinion. A few big plays, but I thought that was huge that they got out the first half only being down a touchdown. And you're right, though. When it came to game time, I mean, there's nobody that you ever want the ball in the hands of more than Patrick Mahomes. And I would say not just this year or during his career, but at this point in time in the history of the NFL.
Visiting with Kendall Gammon, he is our guest here. It is a dynasty, and I know you're a part of the Chiefs family. It's different, right? It has a different feel back to back. I mean, Travis Kelce and the mic'd up was talking to Andy Reid after the game was over, and we hear the sounds, and he says to Andy Reid, like, back to back, it's another echelon, it's another level that we're in now with this. As part of the Chiefs family, what is it? What goes through your mind and your body and heart when you hear that now it's back to back, and we know for a fact that we're living in the middle of a dynasty for this Chiefs team?
Well, first and foremost, it is that I played the game a couple decades too early, that I should have been part of this team. But
right.
I'm happy for them, obviously. You and I talked about it, I think maybe last week I mentioned it, which was, I think at the opening of training camp this year, Big Red, his mantra to the team was, it's special to win a championship, but if you really want to differentiate yourself, you win 2 in a row, you go back to back, that puts you in an elite group. And so to me, that just talks about the leadership that he has and what he does. But to be just a small little part of it, being a former player is just it's very special, and feel very fortunate that we get to participate in some different things here and there, and get to help out. Being a part of the Chiefs Ambassadors 501c3, where we help raise funds for different things, and it's a great organization, and it's not surprising that they're winning because of the way they're led.
Visiting with Kendall Gammon. I wanted to get your thoughts as a long snapper. Presented by Crown Toyota, Crown Volkswagen is Kendall Gammon. Your thoughts as a long snapper, the low kicks. So Harrison Butker on the 57-yarder is just a line drive that goes right by one of the arms of the 49ers. And Fred Warner, after it goes over to the sideline and says, it was so low. If I would have just ran up there and jumped, I could have blocked it. But, and he's sort of mad at himself. Christian Moody, or Jake Moody, I should say, had the extra point that was blocked, and that was a low kick. What did you see from both of those? Was the snap by Winchester on the 57-yarder, did that affect it as to why it was such a line drive and low kick from Butker? Was that what he was wanting to do because it was 57? As someone who goes through that operation so much, what did you see on those kicks?
Yeah, that snap may have been not as perfect as James would have liked it, but it was acceptable, and Tommy did a nice job getting it down. But ultimately, I don't think any of that affected it. I just think probably Butker hit it a little bit differently. He just didn't quite. You do have to drive the ball when you're getting outside of 55 yards, but I think he just didn't hit it exactly the way he would because it was low. I mean, when he hit it, I was like, oh. I mean, I audibly said that out loud because it was very easy to see, and I mean, I think it went to the side of some hands as opposed to over. So
yeah, just barely to the side. Yep.
Yeah, so that's just one of those things, and that happens a lot. That just goes to show you that everybody's human. And again, Butker having as great a year as he had, you have something like that, and that's what happens sometimes. Is the dice roll your way a little bit.
Yeah, and Moody, that to me is like, how could that one be blocked? Because that's, kicked right into the line, and that's an extra point. That thing has to be skied, right? I mean, that's what part of you might get blocked from somebody coming from the outside or not blocked, but you can't get it blocked by barely clearing your offensive line.
No, you've got to get that one up, and that's something that's on him. And again, it just goes to show that these guys, even as good as they are, one of only 32 in the world doing what they're doing, they're still not perfect. They're still not always automatic. Although we've got as good a kicker as there is in the NFL.
Kendall Gammon, presented by Crown Toyota, Crown Volkswagen. Kendall, I appreciate you moving your schedule around for us. Thank you so much on this Friday to continue to talk about this Super Bowl championship team, the Kansas City Chiefs back-to-back. And look, they said it after the Super Bowl. They're going for 3. And we'll see if the three-peat is close to the Chiefs, if they can be the only ones in the history of the NFL to do that. I certainly wouldn't doubt them to be able to pull that off.
Absolutely, and I've enjoyed the season this year and would love to talk about that all next season also with you.
Cannot wait. Kendall, you're the man. Really appreciate it. Love talking with you all year long, bud.
Take care.
Absolutely. There's Kendall Gammon. He is presented by Crown Toyota, Crown Volkswagen, recognized as the #1 place to buy a new or pre-owned vehicle. Visit crownautomotive.com to see the latest deals. Experience the Crown difference. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. holding, I believe, bronze, and talking with his family, saying, I want 3. I want 3. He got on now they've talked about three-peat since then, but that was off the stage. We're going to play the Super Bowl montage before we get out of here on this Friday, but a couple of other quick ones from the mic'd up. This is one to where George Kittle is getting a whole lot of flack for this one. This is the Christian McCaffrey fumble. We know it was recovered by George Karlaftis. This is what was going on as George Karlaftis was being blocked by George Kittle as the ball bounced out.
Hey, George. George Kittle had a chance to get it.
Hey, George. George Kittle with his back to the play, and then George Karlaftis is trying to get around the block, and George Kittle, hey, George, what's up? You know, I didn't say what's up. He didn't have to, but hey, George. He's kind of just hanging out. And then one more from the mic'd up before we play the montage. This was great. Them talking about Patrick Mahomes' legs, but Pat Vick, Mike Vick, same thing.
Come on, man. Hit his ass. Hey, that boy want to run around like he Mike Vick.
We need Pat Vick. We need Pat Vick.
That was Chris Jones. We need Pat Vick. Patrick Mahomes' final 2 drives had 33 yards rushing of his 66. Here is the Super Bowl montage that we played with the mic'd up sound and the play-by-play, and just reliving that Sunday night and the Chiefs winning back-to-back.
Bucker's got the ball teed up at the 35. He trots to the ball. He'll swing his right leg through, and Super Bowl 58 is underway. White jerseys, gold pants for the Niners, breaking huddle. They started this drive at their own 25. Now they have it at the Kansas City 29. It's 1st and 10. Purdy's under center with a couple tight ends. Hand off McCaffrey over the right tackle. He fumbled the ball as he was hit. He crossed the 27, and the ball was jarred free. He was hit on the play. Karlaftis may have jumped on the ball. They're untangling the bodies. The Chiefs pointing one way, and so are the officials. A turnover by San Francisco. Kansas City 22, 1st and 10, shotgun formation. Mahomes by himself, 3-man rush. Here they come. They got him, and they sack him. It's back at the 16. Chase Young. The Niners are going to try a 55-yard field goal off the grass. Jake Moody will try it. Long snap from Pepper to get the first score in the Super Bowl. Ball put down. Right-footed kick is away and good for San Francisco on their 3rd drive, a 55-yard field goal to score first in Super Bowl 58 early in the 2nd quarter. Mahomes is under center. He moves a receiver against the snap. Hands off Pacheco. He's going to get a block from his tight end at the 10. Runs laterally. Tries to dig on the far side. Fumbled it. San Francisco's recovered. San Francisco's recovered. Javon Kinlaw jumps on the Pacheco fumble at the 9. Chiefs 21, 2nd and 10, shotgun snap. They throw laterally, caught by Jennings, who then throws back the other way. Caught on the far side, McCaffrey, 25-20, 15-10, broke a tackle on the number 5. Touchdown, San Francisco! The Niners have just scored the first touchdown of Super Bowl 58. A catch and run with some trickery, 21 yards, McCaffrey.
They can't with us. You know what? They had to go to absolutely, Coach. We getting their best shot right now.
2 receivers to the near side. 4-man rush. Shotgun snap. Blocked by the right tackle. Mahomes runs up. Pump fakes. Throws down the far sideline. Intercepted. Intercepted on a leap at the 45 and down. Going is Jair Brown. A rookie out Penn State for San Francisco. In front of his bench. Far sideline at the Kansas City 44. One of the big defensive plays in this game in Super Bowl 58.
That is just a regular quarterback, bro. Regular. Ain't nothing different. They just ain't been catching it. He regular, bro. And we're going to make his ass look regular.
Tommy Townsend is sent to punt inside the Kansas City 25. The punt will come from our right to our left. It's a knee-high long snap, a right-footed punt. And here is the ball landing in front of Ray McLeod, who gets it out of... Oh, he fumbled! He had the ball and he fumbled it! At the 17, the Chiefs have recovered! Oh, calamity! A muff on the play by the deep back man, Ray McLeod of San Francisco. Retrieved at the 16. 16 is San Francisco. Mahomes in the gun, 1st and 10. The snap, packed his arm, goes end zone, caught, touchdown! Backpedaling, two-handed grab. Marquez, Valdez, Scantling, and the Chiefs on a 16-yard touchdown pass have taken their first lead in Super Bowl 58.
Second and 9, Purdy's pass. Caught! Jennings did it! What an effort breaking tackles. Now he's thrown for a touchdown and caught another. This is Moody, extra point. Oh my goodness, no! It is blocked. Oh my gosh. How big is that now? A 3-point game.
How the f does that happen, man? How did that get blocked?
We've hit the 2-minute warning, and we are tied at 16.
We got to convert. 3rd and 4, we got to convert, bro.
We'd love to pick up this 3rd down, get closer, and then have Jake Moody win the Super Bowl.
We get a 1st down, we knock a lot of time out this clock. Biggest play of the game right here.
The best play that you have in your book right now. Because you don't want to give Mahomes the ball back.
All right. Hey, man, we got no sacks, obviously.
Hey, alert the pressure. We cannot take a sack.
Purdy looking left.
Pressure. Got him. Give it to him.
Ball got tipped right out of his hand.
McDuffie pressure. Nobody blocked it.
He's tipping everything.
All right, Mr. Moody, the rookie. Everything on the line.
Jake has it away. It is long enough. It is right down the middle.
Oh, he put it right down the middle.
What a big-time kick by Jake Moody. That's all great. Here's the problem. Patrick Mahomes has 1 minute and 53 seconds to respond.
Hey, let's go do it, baby. Let's go do it. Fire me up. We got to know what 87 at. Where do you think Pat want to go with the ball? Man, this next series is going to be Pat running and throwing it to 87. Exactly.
3rd down 7, 33 is San Francisco. McKinnon in the back, shotgun snap to Mahomes. Drops back, left tackle block, goes to Kelsey, 30, runs far side, 25, 20, sideline 15, knocked out of bounds at the 12. Knocked out of bounds at the San Francisco 12.
They're in field goal range. They just can't get a touchdown.
They cannot get in the end zone. All right? We got to force a field goal to go to overtime. If you're one-on-one, I'm throwing you the ball in the sting. You hear me? If you're one-on-one, I'm putting it up there. You got to go get it. No, you or nobody.
10 seconds to go.
Hey, go on to Kelsey, bro. Hey, go on to Kelsey.
Now they're going to motion out right. Low snap. Mahomes back. Mahomes throws for the end zone. Incomplete. Great coverage there by Fred Warner. One-on-one with Travis Kelsey.
Kick the field goal. They're going to kick.
They're going to bring in Butker to tie the Super Bowl.
The kicker, Harrison Butker, with a chance to tie Super Bowl 58 with 6 seconds left in regulation. He is 5 of 5 on career postseason field goals when tied or trailing by 3. This will be a 29-yarder to tie Super Bowl 58. On the grass, no wind, we're inside. Butker, the snap is good, the kick is up, the kick is perfect, and we are tied. We are tied with 3 seconds left in Super Bowl 58. 19-19.
We got to win. We're going to win overtime.
You good with the toss?
Yeah. Which way you want to kick it? They call it. They call it, right?
Well, they got a coin flip.
Yeah, they call it coin flip. It's their coin flip, right? Which way do you want to kick it?
We want the ball, Fred.
San Francisco, you are still the visitors. What is your call?
Tails again.
He called tails again. It is tails.
We'll see.
You want the ball, which they want to get.
We're going to take that way.
San Francisco received first in overtime. Good luck, gentlemen.
They want it. They want the ball. They wanted it. Hey, they wanted it. They wanted it, baby.
We want them to have the ball. They want it, they can have it. We won the toss, we were going to kick off too. We got what we wanted.
Hey, even if we score a touchdown, they still get the ball. I didn't know that.
Come on, stand up. It's the big stand right here, D.
You need gloves or anything? You good?
I'm good, baby. I need a win. Hold him, D.
3rd and 4. Niners at the Kansas City 8 shotgun formation. The snap to Purdy. The rush up the middle. The throw to the end zone. Nobody home at the pylon for Jennings at the goal line on the near sideline. It's incomplete. It's 4th and 4.
Block 95 again.
They got pressure right in Brock's face. Just could not find Jennings, who was open on that play. Jake Moody in for a field goal to give the Niners the lead of 3. And it's good.
And now we've got Patrick Mahomes against one of the best defenses in the NFL. They have got to score. Mahomes in the gun, 3rd and 1. Shotgun snap, handoff Pacheco, corkscrews over the right side, nothing there. Down he goes, and he is shy of the first down by a half yard.
All right, we stop him with world champs, right?
What do you like? Slide keys. I like slide keys a lot. If it's not there, I'll run for it.
They're going to run it and react to the pass. We got to win it if they run it.
Hey, alert the quarterback key. Alert the quarterback key.
We're good.
So Mahomes in the gun, half yard to go, 4th and 1, inside his own 35. Kelsey in motion. Shotgun snap, the fake handoff. Mahomes will run, a block by Kelsey. He's got the first down over the right tackle, the 40. He's out to the Kansas City 41-yard line. An 8-yard run by Mahomes. That is a first down.
A really good play call, and there was nobody there for the 49er defense. I knew he was going to keep it, bro. What a... Damn! You go! You go!
Mahomes in the gun, 7 from the 10-yard line of San Francisco. 3 wide, looks into the nickel. Shotgun snap, drops back 3. Sidearm throw, caught at the 10. Kelsey got a block on the hash mark, trudging to the 5. Broke a tackle, carries him on his back. Post to a first down. Got to the 3. He needed to get inside the 4. That should be enough for a first down.
Hey, so I got Church right bunch, F, shuttle, Tom and Jerry right, yellow. Orange, let's go!
Lining up in the clock at 10 seconds and ticking.
Set. We're good. Set.
Low snap. He runs and he throws. Caught, touchdown. It's caught. Hardman caught the ball. The Chiefs have won. The Chiefs have won. The entire bench empties. Chasing Mahomes in the end zone.
Really, just the whole game was just kind of our whole entire season. It was the defense just keeping us in there, and then the offense making plays when it counted. And then, of course, Harrison Butker hitting from about 70. So it was a microcosm of our whole season. I'm just proud of the guys. They kept believing, and I'm proud of the coaches for calling up those plays. Got us some touchdowns there at the end. I can't ask for anything better than this, man. We're Super Bowl champs.
All right, there you go. There's the Super Bowl montage. And the week does not end for Mecole Hardman. He's playing in the Celebrity All-Star Game at the NBA All-Star Game tonight, 6 o'clock on ESPN. So how about that? We get out of here. Talk to you Monday.
Tom Williams for Guaranteed Foods. In many homes, the family member with the healthiest diet's the family.